Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you're going to listen live via the streaming free. Always don't miss anything. But, hey, if you do, go back, get caught up at your leisure. We'll post all 3 hours upon the conclusion of the program, both to iTunes and our own audio vault. You can email us if you like as well, jcs at 979ESPNradio.com. On Twitter, it's at JCameron Show. You can utilize the WTSM app. Hello, YouTubers and Periscopers. Hope you're well. Guys, ready to talk some college golf? Let's do it. But alas, Florida State has moved on from head football coach Willie Taggart. The news coming down yesterday as they terminate the contract for Coach Taggart. And the statement reads as follows. For those that didn't see it, Florida State Director of Athletics David Coburn announcing the news of that termination effective immediately yesterday afternoon. Odell Haggins, in his 26th season on FSU's coaching staff, a true legend amongst all Florida State faithful, is serving now as the interim head coach. He spoke today. We'll tell you what he had to say as well. And it's interesting. This is a sad day, and yesterday was a sad day when the announcement came down in many ways because it speaks to a sizable failure, both on the university's behalf and also, obviously, Coach Taggart and his staffs. Nobody wanted to see this play out the way that it did. Obviously, not the party that hired Willie Taggart to be their next head coach, and obviously not Willie Taggart and his staff. But here we are, the reality of another loss to an arch rival, a middling one at that, in a lopsided fashion, and frankly, a less than enthusiastic crowd bearing witness. And all of these factors are things that we have discussed for quite some time now, which is the stark reality regarding the economics. And I think that more than anything else, when you read the statement from President Thrasher and you hear from Athletics Director David Coburn today, you're struck by that reality. You're struck by the reality that this was becoming a desperate situation in which the economics were going to dictate the terms. I like Coach Taggart a lot. Let me get this out there. I was in favor of Willie Taggart being named the next head coach. I even lobbied for it on these airwaves because I thought that not only was he a very, very good recruiter from the state of Florida, grew up a passionate Florida State fan, but had made programs better than when he had taken them over, right? He had left them in better shape than when he had taken them over, and he had done so by showing the ability to flip culture, change the locker room, and get kids to buy into a vision. And I thought that is something that Florida State was in need of at the time that Jimbo Fisher had turned his back on the university and on his football program. But as it turns out, he didn't get the job done, and I ended up being wrong about that hire. President Thrasher and Mr. Burr and Stan Wilcox and anybody else that was involved in the decision proved to be wrong as well, and that's not good. That's not a situation that anybody would want to see play out the way that it did, because it means that obviously you've taken huge steps backwards instead of forward, which is what initially excited everybody about the hire. And I think Coach Taggart, while a good man, a man who cares deeply about the student-athlete, about this university, about the traditions here, and about the job, unfortunately made a couple of rather sizable mistakes in evaluation, both of his coaching staff and of the roster. And I think we should start there. I think that's how we arrived at this day, Tom. In many ways, Saturday's loss to Miami is not only pathetic and worth documenting, but it's now an afterthought because it's just the culmination of a stretch that never saw this thing moving forward in a way that proved to be discernible progress, right? That I know year 3 is going to be better than year 2, just as year 2 was better than year 1. We're moving in the right direction. They could not say that about the product on the field, about the staff that they had, and the economics then along with the visual, said, we've got to move forward. That game on Saturday felt a lot like, as athletic director David Coburn said, a lot like the first game we ever saw Willie Taggart and his staff coach here against Virginia Tech. A disorganized mess. 9 sacks, 16 tackles for loss on only 69 snaps. Those are 9 sacks, 30 dropbacks. I mean, the percentages are awful. The pre-snap penalties, the inability to get lined up, the incessant week-to-week nature of having to call timeout with 10 men on the field. These are basic elements of football that reek of an ill-prepared squad. Coach Taggart did do some good things. I don't think there's any question that he got the kids in that locker room to buy in and believe and fly the straight and narrow. They went to class. He helped the APR, stayed out of trouble. I mean, this wasn't a run where a bunch of kids were getting in trouble with the law or anywhere else for that matter. But he just simply put didn't win enough football games and was disorganized behind the scenes. And, you would hear that. You would hear that things were not as buttoned up as they needed to be in order to see this thing through some troubled times. And you would hear about that in regards to recruiting trips and events. You'd hear that as far as scheduling, those kinds of things, whether it be practice or on the road. That would cause one to raise an eyebrow, but those things are enhanced when you're losing on the field. When you're losing football games and you're hearing those mutterings behind the scenes that it's disorganized, then you see what I just described as disorganization, not enough men on the field, illegal formations, all of these kinds of things that we talk about with the incessant penalties. That seems to marry those conversations, those talking points, right? That seems to say, yeah, the disorganization I'm hearing about over here is leading to this product on the field. There has to be elements of truth to all of this.
Well, and whether or not it was both, or one leading to the other, I should say, it was everywhere. It was ever present. And that's the hard part when you're trying to stick up for a coach as an administrator. You need to be able to point to something. And I think Director Coburn and President Thrasher felt like there wasn't enough to point at to say moving forward this was going to be the direction that we needed to go. Listen, I'm not happy today either. I thought this was the right hire. We talked about this when we were listing the people that we wanted to come to Tallahassee. What is the best play for Florida State? And I thought the best play was you got to flip the roster soon. Here's a guy who has a top 10 class at Oregon. They've never had one of those before. When he left, they had a slew of decommitments, just like we have happening to us now.
Right.
But at the time of his departure, they were going to set records. They had Chip Kelly, and they went to the college football playoff. That was after Kelly was gone. They'd been a top 10 program, top 5. It wasn't crazy to see Oregon at number 5 or number 4 in the country, even better than that. But they had never cracked the top 10 in recruiting. Willie was able to do that in an area that he didn't live in before.
Yeah.
What could he do here if he had just a little bit of success on the field? But the problem was we didn't win enough football games for the recruiting prowess to take over and help flip this roster. And Director Coburn's right. This game on Saturday felt a lot like the Virginia Tech game. And you felt like you didn't even have a puncher's chance against a mediocre to bad Miami football
Yeah, that's
program.
not a very good Miami
That's
team.
That's not a Clemson rivalry game. This is Miami.
Right.
The team that just lost to Tech.
And Georgia Tech. And you've lost to them 3 years in a row. And none of those seasons were Miami very good. And really, frankly, this was not that competitive of a football game. If you're just bringing it back to Saturday, that's the culmination of several factors that lead to one losing their job. But that 27-10 score is somewhat deceiving, frankly.
Well, and here's the difference between the Virginia Tech game and this year's Miami game. And that's beforehand. There wasn't a whole lot of energy before this game. There wasn't a whole lot of energy in the stands at kickoff. It felt like the crowd was loud because they felt they had to be more than they really were ready to go for this football game. And it's Miami.
That only stems from a lack of belief, Tom. You can't fake that passion, right?
So I sat in the alumni side for this game. And again, for big third downs or splash play, a tackle for loss, hell, the fumble recovery, right? The strip sack fumble recovery. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the same as it was for the 29 straight. It wasn't the same as it was for the climb up. It reminded me of a lost decade crowd.
Yeah.
We're happy that this happened, that we're making splash plays.
It beats the alternative.
Right. But you're waiting for the shoe to drop. That was the attitude all around me. And it just, I think that says it all. That's the lasting image I have in my mind, is that these fans for a rivalry game were more timid than they were fired up to watch us play Miami.
Yeah, because there's no conviction. There's not a belief that we're going to be put in a position to succeed against our rivals. That is, at this point, I think an overwhelming sentiment amongst Florida State fans, and that is that I don't trust this staff to have us ready to play football. And I think they looked ill-prepared, and it's not the only time this year that we've seen a team who collectively weren't mentally ready to play a football game of this magnitude. If you couple that with they weren't put in a position to consistently succeed, and if we really want to spend some time on it today, I don't know what the hell that game plan was. I mean, so many factors that just lead one to throw their hands to the sky and say, I don't know, guys, I don't think this is getting any better. I don't think we're going to be in a position to change things starting next year either. I don't see the forward momentum that one should see going into, year 3 or by the end of year 2. There's no momentum surrounding Florida State football right now. Now, as we look ahead, again, I'm going to have to reiterate this frequently today. I don't take any pleasure in having this discussion because I like Willie Taggart, the man. He was a pleasure and a professional to work with. I interviewed him many times over the course of his 2 years here, every Monday morning last year, and then every other Monday this year. And he was always a pro's pro, whether they had lost the game, won the game, looked terrible, played great, didn't matter. When I inquired about whether or not we were doing our 8 a.m. interview on Monday, the answer was always yes, and he was always right on time, and he handled those questions like a pro. So I appreciate that. And again, I think he legitimately cared deeply about this program, about its fans, and about those kids that he coached. So I don't like to see this happen to anybody, but I also understand the situation at Florida State, which is that you were dangerously close to apathy setting in. Certainly economically, what we see from this program right now is not good with the number of empty seats and the lack of contributions and future ticket sales. But that echoes what the president had to say. John Thrasher noting that it was in the best interest of the university, quote, we had no choice but to make a change. I don't think you use that language unless you're talking about the economics, and which is what I think he is referring to.
Well, yeah, when we had this conversation after the Wake Forest loss, my thought was, okay, I understand what the buyout is. People have those terms of the contract available to them, so they know how much it's going to cost Florida State. But how much does it cost if you keep the status quo going?
Yeah.
Do you have any reason to
how much
hang
money
your
are
hat
you
on?
losing the rest of this year and going into next year with the lack of season ticket sales and booster contributions?
It's why when we talked about football games in a given week, I'd say, all right, in the short-term view, I like our chances this week, or I don't like our chances this week. The long-term view, I just don't see where the replacements are coming at the positions that we need in order to flip the feeling around this program.
Sure.
And that's the hard part. And I didn't want this to fail. Once again, Willie, if we won with him, it would have been more special than with Jimbo. It would have felt like the Bowden days if we had won with Willie. But it was undercut before it had a chance to flourish. And that's what sucks today. But I will say this. I'm glad the university didn't wait. I don't want to be in limbo for a year plus.
Well, and this gets into a bigger talking point, Tom, which now is timetables in college football changing yet again. Money dictates that most of the time. If you go back to when I was a kid, and I'm 48 years old for our new listeners today, of which I'm sure there are many after a situation like this. I'm 48 years old, and I can remember going to games as a kid here and at the University of Florida. My stepdad is a UF law grad, and as the big money began to find its way to college football, both would say, oh, man, that's going to be tough. That's going to change college football forever. In many ways, it certainly has, sometimes for the better, most of the time for the worse. But I will say this. It escalated timelines. Guys got 5 years back in the day, literally 5 years. It was always about a full cycle of recruiting, your own quarterback for 4 years and all this stuff, right? No, you don't get 5 years. Then you got 4. And then you got 3. And I think with the early signing period and the economics of the game these days, this is not going to be all that unusual. It is unusual today, as we sit here now, to fire a coach before the end of his second season. I think more schools will feel emboldened to do so because of the early signing period and needing to get a head start on it.
Well, yes, at the very least, even if it's year 3 or year 4 for those coaches, you'll do so in season.
Yeah.
Because if you wait until
give the
game
new guy
12,
a shot, yeah.
I mean, game 12
Salvage
this year,
something.
it's November 30th.
Yeah.
Signing period's a couple of weeks away. We saw the difficulties it created for Willie when he took over for Jimbo. He didn't have a full staff in here. You had Charles Kelly and Rick Trickett and other holdovers from the old staff.
Piece it together.
Trying to piece it together with Willie to salvage what was left of Jimbo's recruiting class, and then he would add on to it later once he got his people in here. But that was a really convoluted time, and I think the university looked at that situation and they said, man, okay.
Never again. Right?
Never.
Yeah.
We may have gotten it wrong in terms of the guy that we hired, but the process can be better. We can afford ourselves more time. We can be transparent about it instead of holding clandestine meetings for the better part of November. Let's put this out in the open and take some calls because people know this job is up for grabs, and I think that's what they did. Now, they've got to get it right.
Oh, there's a lot
I'm
of
not
pressure.
saying,
Listen, there's no guarantee moving forward that the next guy changes this, flips this on its ear, and gets us back to winning national championships and competing for conference championships with the quickness. No, there's no guarantee of all that. I think hence the consternation. I think this is why now everybody kind of holds their collective breath and wonders, well, who's making this decision? And are they the same people that made the decision to hire Willie in the first place? And, oh, by the way, can't miss on this one because we don't exactly have the same sort of deep pockets that other schools have who have gone through this sort of thing. Quickly, because we could probably talk for 3 hours straight without a commercial break and without audio that we have for you from today's press conference. But I do want to give the other side here, at least as it pertains to Willie Taggart's statement after he was terminated yesterday. He said, obviously, I am disappointed in the decision today as I believe our future is bright at Florida State. Building a program and a culture takes time, and I regret that we will not have the opportunity to continue to coach these incredible young men. I want to thank first and foremost our student athletes who never stop believing and who deserve to find success. I also want to thank our coaches and staff who believed in what we were building and who are among the finest men and women in our profession. Finally, I want to thank the Florida State faithful for their support as we work towards building a program that they could be proud of. On behalf of my family and I, we wish Florida State nothing but the best and will be cheering on the Seminoles the rest of the way. Quote, end quote. That's all, class, and I appreciate the sentiments. I think, obviously, under the circumstances, that sentiment is impressive because I know his heart was broken yesterday as he did declare this his dream job. And in that moment, he had just lost his dream job. And that's why I would suggest to our fans, most of whom are absolute class acts, not to revel in the end of Willie Taggart's regime here at Florida State. I can certainly espouse what I think will be, kind of logical conclusions about Willie Taggart's coaching here at Florida State and what happens to him moving forward. But in truth, right now, I want to circle back around and be hyper-focused on what Florida State does because what Florida State does next is of vital importance, and we all know that. And so the rumors, they've begun, as they always do after a moment like this. You'll hear everything under the sun. But as of right now, they are not set to announce a new head coach today the way that was speculated late yesterday and early this morning before the press conferences this afternoon. And then we'll give you some of the other details about the process that the university is going through. And, in fact, when we come back on the Jeff Cameron Show, you'll hear from Athletic Director David Coburn and his comments today. The Q&A is interesting because he does directly answer questions about what led to this decision and the economics. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men on a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
Next Wednesday night for the season opener against Pitt.
Chuck Oliver here, and there's no better place to watch football this season than Cigars of Tally Lounge and Bar, located at 926 North Monroe Street. On the corner of 3rd Monroe, Cigars of Tally is the perfect place to kick back and enjoy your favorite cigars and ice-cold beer. The Diamond Crown Lounge offers countless options, including J.C. Newman, Arturo Fuente, Padron, Drew Estate, Ashton, and many more. Watch your teams on sparkling 4K TVs and seating areas made for comfort and luxury relaxation. Check out the private conference rooms and the spacious patio for your next watch party and fantasy draft. Cigars of Tally Lounge and Bar, 926 North Monroe Street. Get your ash in here.
Oh, yes, you've thought about it, but now it's time to enjoy the moss-drenched live oak, rolling hills, and pristine greens of Southwood Golf Club. Our friends at Southwood Golf Club offer individual, family, and student memberships, and now offer the all-in membership. That's right, never pay a card fee when you play. Don't forget, at Southwood Golf Club, it's not just about the golf. Hit the clubhouse for brunch, or maybe enjoy trivia night, live music, happy hour, and all-you-can-eat night specials, too. For membership information or to join right now, just call 850-942-4653. Southwood Golf Club is ready to make you a member. 850-942-4653.
Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram is the Jeep headquarters of America. We've purchased over 100 Jeep Renegades, and they've all arrived and are on the lot for immediate delivery. 2018 Jeep Renegade Latitude with MSRP starting at $25,120. On sale now for $18,870. That's a savings of $6,250. A new Jeep starting at only $18,870. Those prices are unheard of and can only be found at your Jeep headquarters of America, Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. No other dealer can offer you this kind of savings. We buy in mass quantities and pass along the savings to you. 2018 Jeep Renegade Latitude, starting at $18,870. Payments as low as $299 a month. On the corner of West Tennessee and Capitol Circle, where we're right on the corner and always right on the price. Check us out on the web at TallahasseeDCJ.com. All prices include rebates and incentives plus tax, title, and dealer fee. State number 18J605. Must finance through Chrysler Capital and qualify for all rebates and incentives.
Hey, Jeff, what's going on, man?
Hello, Eddie. How the heck are you, buddy?
I'm okay. I guess we got to do this commercial.
Time for the bantering to begin.
Yeah, but you know what, Jeff? I want something different now.
You don't want to banter anymore.
I enjoy the banter. I do. But I want theme music, Jeff. Gordo's needs theme music.
Gordo's, the restaurant, the delicious food and the people and the atmosphere. Gordo's, not you personally, but Gordo's.
Yes,
I like
Gordo's, not me. I mean, of course, I would love to have people following me around playing music all the time.
Especially at Gordo's.
It's always in my head. But I need something for Gordo's. I need to have something special, something that, heck, the King of the Hill has his own theme music. The Kids in the Hall. Why not me? Why not Gordo's?
Why not Gordo's? All right, I guess I'm going to be looking for some theme music.
You mean you're going to have Tom looking for some theme music?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yep, get on it, Tommy. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
This hour of the Jeff Cameron Show is brought to you by Jerry's Cigar Shop, 2810 Shera Road and 2910 Cary Forest Parkway. Online at jerrycigarshop.com.
Hi, welcome to this ad for new Subway sliders starting at $1.89 each. How do you want it?
Cheer Squad.
Woo! Go Subway sliders starting at $1.89 each.
Give me a $1.89 ham and jack slider.
$1.89 ham and jack slider.
Give me a $1.89 Italian spice slider.
$1.89 Italian spice slider. What's that spell?
Doesn't really spell anything.
New Subway sliders starting at $1.89 each. Go sliders!
Customization for flavored cheese and sauce at participating shops plus tax. Price higher on delivery. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii.
As sports fans, we all know this is the best time of the year. And the best places to catch all the action are at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill and 7th Hill Tap Room. If you'd like a laid-back atmosphere, the 7th Hill Tap Room is your spot. 24 craft brew taps, plus wine options as well. And when you want to watch the pros, enjoy half off all craft drafts all day on Sundays. So whether you're feeling the upstairs at the Corner Pocket or lounging down at the 7th Hill Tap Room, your game day is always covered. 2475 Appalachia Parkway, right next to Earth Fair.
You're listening to the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Welcome in, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. So I mentioned Coach Taggart's, obviously, the termination. announcement from Florida State yesterday, in which President Thrasher said, "I think very highly of Coach Taggart, wish him well, but in the interest of the university, we had no choice but to make a change. We will support our student athletes in every way and do all we can to return to the winning tradition that is Seminole football. We deeply appreciate all that Coach Taggart has done for our program and wish him and his family nothing but the best." That was David Coburn added that, I should say. And in fact, Tom, I know we have audio from today's press conference. I don't know how much of that you want to use. Audio coming from warchant.com. We'll hear from Ira Schoffel later in the show today.
I grabbed the best 4 minutes, a lot of questions, a lot of direct questions, you might imagine, for the athletic director today, but he answered them. I don't think he shied away from any of them.
No, and there was a lot of talk, obviously, about what went into the decision and also why now. And so he answered that directly. Yeah.
The audio clip I have is his opening statement, followed by a selection of questions from the media that was there.
And I'll touch on some of those answers. So here now is David Coburn.
I'll start by saying that it was a rough weekend, as I'm sure you can imagine. I had to fire a friend yesterday, and that was very difficult. I talked to the players. As you know, they were, I would say, surprised and disappointed, but not inappropriate. Coach Higgins talked to them. I think they had a good conversation. We are getting, in my view, very good leadership from people like Marvin Wilson and Cam Akers right now, and that's very important to this team. With that, I'll take questions.
Why make the decision now to let go of Coach Taggart, and was he able to meet with the team to say goodbye to them?
The timing was, to take the second question first, the timing was a little difficult for that. I made the offer, and he indicated that he would like to do that, but he wanted to get his thoughts together. We were going right in to meet with the coaches and then the players. So as far as I'm concerned, that offer stands. In terms of doing it now, we looked at the pluses and minuses, and we didn't really see any upside to waiting. We wanted to go ahead and get started with a search, see if we could get somebody in here ready to go as quickly as possible. Frankly, 6-6 isn't good enough, and we didn't see an advantage to waiting to the end.
Yesterday on Twitter, Coach Taggart tweeted out a little statement saying he was, obviously disappointed with the decision, but he didn't say anything about being surprised. Were there communications going on? Did he realize, I guess, what he needed to accomplish and how far away he was from those, and how tenuous his job was?
Yeah, we had several very explicit conversations.
Financially, what numbers did you crunch? I mean, are the boosters telling you they're not going to contribute? Is it season ticket sales? What all is involved in that financial equation?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Andy's running out the door. But no, the questions were all asked about season ticket sales, about booster contributions attached there too. We looked at it pretty thoroughly.
Do you have a timeline for when you want to have a coach hired?
Well, I'd like to have a coach in place ready to go when the season ends, if not before.
There have obviously been critics that say that you guys didn't give Willie Taggart enough time. What do you say to that? And what do you say to prospective coaches and their agents that want to know how much time they would get at this job?
Well, there's a lot of ways to measure what was happening with the team. I thought that at the beginning of the season we were making progress. Clemson was a disappointment. And I just felt, and the president felt, that since then we just have not looked very good. And I thought, frankly, that the Miami game was eerily similar to the Virginia Tech game in many ways.
David, can you tell us a little bit about what the process is going to be for looking for the new coach? Would you look at an outside firm for assistance?
Yeah, we're going to engage a firm.
Okay, and how much of that will be how much discussion between yourself, President Thrasher, Ed Burr. I mean, is that kind of the circle that's going to be deciding this?
Yes, and the boosters are going to be involved. Yeah, I mean, we're asking them for money. They're going to have a role in this.
As for the Miami game itself, looking eerily similar to that of the Virginia Tech game, according to David Coburn there. Look, Miami laughed at us, basically said, here's some cover zero, and we don't think you can get the ball down the field. Turned out to be true. We also couldn't block them. We also couldn't run the football. And defensively, we couldn't get home against an offensive line in Miami that's given up pressure to their starting quarterbacks all year long. So this did look like a completely inept football team going against a mediocre football team and getting exposed for the same kinds of warts that they've had for a number of years, and that is infinitely frustrating. Now, that's taken a back seat today because that's a specific game, and this is a larger, big-picture program conversation that we're having. But that game seems to encapsulate really all of our frustrations, that the lack of, again, real discernible progress being made from this coaching staff, albeit working with areas of weakness, that offensive line being the biggest of which, you have to see that things are better now than they were nearly 2 years ago. And in areas where you can say that, it's marginal.
Yeah, I think, well, and those areas that you could say resoundingly it's better, it has regressed from, weeks 1 through 3 to now. We thought special teams, for example, had tightened up a lot the first few weeks of the season. Not so much anymore. I mean, you looked at that, and you looked at the way we were lining up on offense the first few weeks of the season. No false start penalties, no illegal formation penalties. The things that we saw last year where people didn't know where to be or too many guys were lined up in the backfield, they've all cropped back up.
Yeah, regressing is how you would describe that as the year went on. And that can never be the way. Fans tend to be emboldened by progress and real evidence that things are improving, even if they recognize that their place in the big picture is not where they'd like it to be. They can see the end game. They can see the long game. They can say, well, if you're a fan at Louisville right now, you're going, okay, all right, this guy's got this team still playing hard. They've now won 5 games. They lost to this Florida State program, but now I don't think there'd be too many people that would argue they haven't made very real progress while Florida State has remained stagnant. You get blown out by Clemson is one thing. It's not a good look. It's certainly another reminder of just how far removed you are from being an elite program. But losing the following week to Wake Forest's backup quarterback, that's a whole nother discussion. And, again, a sign that things aren't much better. And I'll tell you what, I know we said it on the pregame show and we talked about it on Saturday as you and I were walking into the stadium together, Tom. I had an uneasy feeling about the game. I was kind of hoping, in a weird way against hope, that it would just work out because we were at home against a bad Miami team because I don't think they're real well coached either. So I didn't trust us as much as I was hoping that they would fail. But when I saw Boston College do what they did to Syracuse Saturday, just running roughshod over them before we ever took the field, scoring 44 points and a half and doing anything they wanted on offense, I thought, boy, that 35-17 win doesn't feel so good against Syracuse.
Right.
It may not have been a real sign of progress here.
Well, yeah, if there was a graphic that came up during the Wake Forest game, I had that on the background here at the studios, and obviously they got their quarterback back in the fold, and NC State was on quit watch, and I think NC State folded the tent there a little bit too.
Yeah.
But the graphic came up about, the quickest offenses in the country from snap to snap, and Wake Forest is there, and we're there. Boston College was there. I said, whoa, wait a minute. BC snapping the ball between 20 and 25 seconds every single play?
Yeah.
That's different.
Well, and I don't dare speculate about that game next week because trying to get a handle on where our head's going to be is very difficult. I would have told you this. Had no move been made after this Miami debacle, I think we would have probably come in here today and said Florida State's going to lose to Boston College this weekend. I know I would have because you have to want to tackle against a very big-bodied back, 2 of them, in fact, at BC. And I don't know how much interest and passion we have in doing that right now with the season going the way that it is. But because they let Coach Taggart go, this could go one of two ways. They could be crestfallen and have no real desire to engage and fight and play out the rest of the
35
spring.
degrees at noon up in Chestnut Hill.
Yeah, you don't know. Or they could play like hell for a guy they do greatly admire in Odell Higgins. I don't know how that's gonna work, and it's why it's not on my card this week. I'm not gonna touch that game, but
It won't magically appear.
No.
There's not enough intel that you could get.
I'm
right?
gonna leave that alone. But actually, frankly, I don't know how much interest there is amongst Florida State fans in that game. We're all going to go day to day now and wait patiently or impatiently for the announcement of the next hire, and that is going to be hotly debated, as it should be. We're not immune to that conversation. It's part of college football's lore, is arguing passionately about those that we think would make a great hire and those that would not, and the reasons why. Already today, the names are being bantied about, the biggest of which is Bob Stoops. 59 years old. He's a national championship coach who ran a major program at Oklahoma. I think when you look at him, a lot of people on the negative side would say, I don't want a retread. I don't want a guy who's not going to be here for the long term. I don't want a guy that has been out of the game and is looking to get back into it. I want an up-and-coming rock star. I want a guy that everybody sees ascending up the ranks rapidly, and I want to hitch my wagon to him. Conversely, some would look at that and say, no. You can't take a chance on a guy, even if his reputation is sterling, who hasn't been a head coach. So obviously, when I'm talking about these two, I'm talking about two very different candidates. I'm talking about a Bob Stoops, if in fact he is a candidate for the job, and I'm talking about a Tony Elliott at Clemson, who's in his late 30s and has done remarkable work for them. And according to all who have ever sat down across from him and spoke with him for any length of time, you come away absolutely duly impressed. But the fan base now will spend, obviously, almost every waking second talking about what is best for Florida State. And the truth is, and let's lay this out here, the truth is, whether it would be an upstart young man like Tony Elliott, a grown man, he's 38 years old, but like Tony Elliott or Jeff Scott, or a veteran who's been there, done that, like Bob Stoops, like his brother Mark Stoops, whomever, they don't come with guarantees. Every situation is different. You know, we've brought it up countless times. I'm quite certain Michigan thought that Harbaugh would come in there and kick ass and take names, and there would be no doubt about it. They've got an alum. They've got resources for days. They've got everything you could possibly need to win, including a guy who's passionately going to represent that school and recruit as follows. But it hasn't happened for them. Now, they've rebounded some this year and obviously playing pretty good at football right about now, but it hasn't been a resounding success. And I think you would look at several stops along the way. Hell, Nebraska, year two, Scott Frost is not going swimmingly right now, and he, too, is a guy that a lot of people would look to and compare to Willie Taggart. Different situations in that Nebraska was further behind the eight ball, and there are no real sterling recruits in the direct region in which he is coaching, but nonetheless, not gaining the kind of traction they were hoping for. The point of all this is to say, whomever Florida State hires is no guarantee, but it's of vital importance that you mitigate risk, that you remove things that are obviously a hindrance to Florida State's next coach winning. You find a way to eliminate as much risk as possible. There are pros and cons, and I know it sounds like I'm fence-sitting here, but there are pros and cons to all these guys. Listen, if you were to take in let's say you hire Bob Stoops. Well, he is a huge name in the game, a national championship coach who I do think would bring without question, not only a grand reputation in the game, but organization. He has run a massive organization very successfully for the better part of 2 decades is what he did at OU, a program with more cachet and more money and equal expectations to Florida State. Would he come here and clean things up and fix things up almost immediately? Oh, behind the scenes, I think Florida State would be 100% organized, without question. And I think he would salvage something of a recruiting class. Is he going to be here for 10 years? No. Is he going to be the long-term answer at Florida State? No. Would he be a guy to bridge the gap between whomever that guy is and where we sit today? Yeah, possibly. I think that's probably a strong argument to make. He'd probably get you back to winning minimum 10 games a year every year. You'd beat the people you're supposed to beat. You recruit well. Fans would be interested again. You'd be in a better position by the time he left here than you are now.
With an outside shot to compete for something real.
Yeah,
it's not like he couldn't.
No, you could win a national title with him. You could, absolutely. But I'm saying, even if you don't think you could, even if you think he's past his prime, I guarantee you'd get back to some semblance of stability. Without question, you would. Now, is he the guy that, then you look at and say, here's somebody who may hit it out the park, be a dynamic, young, formidable coach to take over in the Southeast and go head-to-head with Dabo Swinney and Nick Saban and whomever else you want to name, obviously Dan Mullen at Florida, whatever. The way that maybe Tony Elliott is going to be for whomever hires him or like candidates? No, he's a retread. Bob's a retread. But a rather sizable retread in that his reputation is fairly sterling.
Yeah, what's your goal? What's your 3-year goal and 5-year goal as a fan? How about 3, 5, and 10? Where do you think we can be? Where do you think realistically we will be? And who gets you there? I think that's the argument. I mean, shoot, we're going to have a Wednesday night, a watch party for the Pitt game. We're going to have a watch party on Saturday for Florida State at BC, the Nooner. Might be like a pregame party for the LSU-Alabama game.
You almost want to rebrand that.
Right.
Yeah.
But what's going to be happening at those parties? A lot of talking about the future. And that's what there's going to be games that we're watching as we're discussing the future of the football program. That's what everybody's doing right now. I mean, I can tell you, this one was different on Saturday. Before any of there weren't even hardly any whispers. This thing was just like it was a cold press release. There it goes. But I have people who are Noles fans in my life that I see different levels of frequency. But we don't really talk Noles football all that much. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting texts from them after the Miami game saying, surely there's no way that we're continuing down this path. That tells you that it hit a lot of people a lot harder. This one felt different. If you lose to Clemson, you get blown out, people can almost understand that. They don't condone it, but they understand it. You don't look competitive against Miami, in this period of time? No, man. That's where people do eventually. The apathy, they snap out of it for a little bit.
Yeah, I think the overriding sentiment that I heard from longtime Noles and my friends, similar, frustration, fed up, but sadness, because they felt like we did, that, well, he's a good guy, and you'd like to win with a good guy.
A good guy who loves the university the way you do? Yeah.
It's interesting because when you have a mercenary and you go from a mercenary to a guy that has a humanity to him, it's easy to quickly fall in love with that element of his personality and who he is. But ultimately, the truth is, mercenary or affable friend, winning at the end of the day is what it's about. You're right. One's more desirable than the other, but winning is the bottom line. And, man, I'll tell you what, that Coburn presser today spelled that out in no uncertain term. Those quotes say everything that you're looking for. We're looking for somebody who can win a national championship. I didn't see any upside in waiting. 6-6 is not good enough. When you do the numbers, it makes more sense to just go ahead and do this and do it now. He had a lot of things that referred to the money. They did a thorough investigation into the numbers. Quote, we've seen an erosion of season ticket sales and booster support. I mean, everything kept coming back to the economics behind this decision.
But I think it all starts with a personal opinion and insight from behind the scenes. And I think, honestly, given the situation that Willie was in to start this job and the APR realities, the lack of fortified ranks at offensive line, linebacker, quarterback, Jimbo left this place in shambles. If it was just simply that, right, and you could see behind the scenes, he's doing everything right. We're just not good enough in certain places. And so these deficiencies that he inherited.
That would be much easier to take, yeah.
And I think it would be so easy to take that they would have come out in support of Willie in the midst of all of this trouble saying, stay the course. But if you see things behind the scenes that add up along with the losses on the field,
sure,
and you're saying, well, is he really going to lead us out of this mess?
Yeah, no.
And you can't come up with it.
Yeah, no.
Then if it's just about money, then they got to do what they got to do.
Yeah, it stinks. It stinks. It's bad for the kids, too. I feel this is something that is a reality, too, that largely gets overlooked as we go through the talking points, is that, you have a lot of kids that committed to Jimbo Fisher. That guy walks away from the program. They stick around, buy into what the next coach is selling, and then they don't get rewarded. There aren't wins that come with that buy-in. They're not having the success that they anticipated when they said yes to a program like Florida State University. So their time is mired in, frankly, suck the entire time they've been here. And they're going to leave here without having accomplished, at least in terms of wins and losses and the kinds of rewards kids who go to play college football at prestigious universities seek, nothing. They're going to leave with nothing. Now, there is something to being a Nole. There is something to having played at this great institution. But as far as wins go, not nearly enough of those. And I feel for those kids. I do.
Well, and one other thing, too, about whatever the incoming regime looks like, there's some things. You have an opportunity here. You have a real opportunity here, this next person, to take a look and make some suggestions for the football side of the operation, to talk to the athletic director, who is outgoing at some point here in the next year or two, and David Coburn, to say, hey, man, there's some inefficiencies over in that building. We've got to tighten up here, here, and here. Like, I'm not saying it's as important as the head coaching job. Nothing is. But director of football operations, all those things, right, that Jimbo behind the scenes, although he was micromanaging, we did have a bit of a plan. I don't think it was always that way here in the last couple of years. And so if there are some things that can be done to tighten up that ship.
Got to tighten up, Tom.
Well, then
you tighten up.
That's a big mandate for if I was Coburn, I'd say it's not just about this. It's not just about on the field. We've got to have a comprehensive plan where people know what the hell they're supposed to do, where the hell they're supposed to be, and we need to have that plan laid out before we say yes to you.
To answer some questions here about the finances, and it's anecdotal, but it's funny. I spoke to a major booster today, somebody with very deep pockets who cares very deeply about this institution and the direction of its athletic program.
Richard Simmons.
Exactly.
Noel grad.
Speed dial. But that person said, Cameron, don't you go on these airwaves this afternoon poor mouthing. We can get anybody we want in here financially. It's there. We can always find the money. The money's there. Okay. Are you sure about that? The answer was, I'm 100% certain. If we need to get it right, money is not going to be the object here. It's not going to be the object that forces us to look a different direction. Nope, we're going to be able to bring in financially anybody we want.
Okay, random booster. $20 million for Bill Belichick. Go make it happen.
Bill Belichick ain't leaving the Patriots, but I'll tell you what, after last night's game, you might consider it. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men on a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
Monday Night Football features NFC East rivals, the Giants and Cowboys, tonight as Dallas looks to win its 6th straight versus New York. Look for quarterback Dak Prescott to try and exploit Giants corner DeAndre Baker, says Monday Night Football announcer Joe Tessitore.
This is a guy who really struggles with getting his feet settled, with going up against the top of route runners and dealing with that. And when you're going up against Amari Cooper, I mean, that's like eating red meat for Dak Prescott. That's the matchup that if you're Dak tonight, you sit back and you say, are you kidding me? We've got this guy playing at this level against that defensive backfield. That's where he really wants to feast tonight.
Joe Tessitore on Golick and Wingo, Monday Night Football, 7 Eastern, ESPN TV and the ESPN app.
Brought to you by Discover. Get your free credit scorecard today. Even if you're not a Discover customer, it includes your FICO credit score, and checking your scorecard won't hurt your credit. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
Hey, Seminole fans, fall is here, and Garnet and Gold has a great selection of brand new FSU fall apparel in stock right now. Long sleeve t-shirts, jackets, fleece, and sweats from brand names like Nike, Champion, and many others. Get your fall on at Garnet and Gold, owned and operated by Seminoles for Seminoles for nearly 40 years at all 3 Garnet and Gold locations, West Pensacola Street, in Killarn near Fresh Market, and on Governor Square Boulevard, or shop online 24/7 at garnetandgold.com. Shop local and go Noles. One of my favorite things about being a member at Orange Theory Fitness is the sense of community. Initially, after taking the tour and seeing the state-of-the-art equipment, I was intrigued. I became convinced even once I researched the science-backed, technology-tracked, coach-inspired workouts, all of that. But what I didn't count on was the support, the sense of camaraderie shown by the members and the coaches. You realize pretty quickly you're not alone. And when you're pushing yourself through barriers and attempting to be your personal best, you can use all the help you can get. And it's there. It's amongst the members and coaches at Orange Theory Fitness. Fitness. To learn more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
He's to the 20, the 10, the 5, and touchdown! Just as time expires. What a big score!
You too can score big with savings offered by the City of Tallahassee. With a free home energy audit from the city, you are sure to score some major points by identifying household energy needs. We'll come to your home at your convenience, examine your structure, and provide recommendations for energy and water-saving improvements. You can also take advantage of the city's Energy Star appliance rebates. This can help you receive up to $300 on appliances such as refrigerators, washing machines, and more. And don't forget to ask about budget billing. This free program gives you more predictable bills by averaging the amount you pay each month to help avoid spikes caused by seasonal changes. With so many savings, you're sure to be a winner. Visit talgov.com or call 850-891-4968. That's talgov.com or 850-891-4968 to learn more.
GT Electric is Tallahassee's premier state-certified electrical contractor. Locally owned and operated for over 20 years, GT Electric offers a variety of electrical services for residential, commercial, and industrial fields, including upgrades, repairs, replacements, and installation. GT Electric also sells and services power generators for commercial buildings, homes, and construction job sites. Call them today at 421-9002. That's 421-9002. Or stop by gtelectricfl.com.
As the leaves are falling, so are the DeWalt prices at Cornerstone Tool and Fastener. The Build Your Own DeWalt Kit promotion is back. Buy 2 select bare tools and get a DeWalt starter kit at no charge. That's 2 5-amp-hour batteries and charger. And there's more. Purchase a DeWalt drill and impact kit and get an additional 5-amp-hour battery and a free bare tool. Choose from impacts, drills, grinders, and more. That's 3 tools and 3 5-amp-hour batteries exclusively at Cornerstone. 1110 Stuckey Ave and 3269 Crawfordville Highway. Tallahassee location open on Saturdays from 8 a.m. until noon.
This hour of the Jeff Cameron Show is brought to you by Jerry's Cigar Shop, 2810 Shara Road and 2910 Cary Forest Parkway. Online at jerrycigarshop.com.
The Starlight Lounge presents An Evening with the Progressive Box.
I took a bit of a risk singing that song, but of course the one place I never take chances is the road, where Progressive Snapshot rewards your safe driving. A good driver plus Snapshot equals big discounts. And speaking of math, 1 + 1 = 2, little too late.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California, North Carolina, or from all agents.
Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Man Cave Monday, brought to you by Tallahassee Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Right on the corner and always right on the price. Check out the latest 2019 inventory at TallahasseeDCJ.com today.
Get it almost every night. And when that moon gets so big and bright, it's a supernatural delight. Everybody in the moonlight.
Still people out there talking about Urban Meyer. Never going to happen, was never a candidate. Don't do the Twitterization of this discussion.
What, you don't want him?
No.
Yeah. Agreed.
He's also never a candidate. We wouldn't call him, was never going to call him. No. I do find some of the names also on that list are fascinating. I mean, it's guys that have done a good job in their respective roles. Matt Campbell's a great name, but that's an Iowa State coach, a Midwestern guy, and you just wonder, does that work here? But I think that the truth is, and we've learned this by taking a look at Dan Mullen at Florida right now, maybe it's a little less about whether or not they translate to recruiting in the South or not, and more about just go win some damn games, build momentum. It's Florida State. Kids are going to say yes.
Yeah, that was the great debate when we were deciding 2 years ago, who do we want? Not the university was going to make a choice independent of that always, but it's fun to have those conversations. And it was, do you want a guy who can win games with less, talented players? Or do you want somebody who can flip a roster really fast and then worry about the rest later?
Mm-hmm. I would tell you that, I don't know how true the statement is that I alluded to that Booster told me about earlier today, that we could get anybody we wanted and we have the money to do it. But I do think something that resonates is that they recognize what's at stake here, and they're not going to shortchange it, because long-term is what you're looking at now, and you can't continue to have to do this. So if you have to pay a large sum of money that makes you uncomfortable right now to get a guy that is as close to can't miss as you can, you may be inclined to do so, even if you weren't before. And I do think that's true.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
But I need something for Gordo's. I need to have something special, something that, heck, the King of the Hill has his own theme music. The Kids in the Hall. Why not me? Why not Gordo's?
Why not Gordo's? All right, I guess I'm going to be looking for some theme music.
You mean you're going to have Tom looking for some theme music?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yep, get on it, Tommy. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
This hour of the Jeff Cameron Show is brought to you by Jerry's Cigar Shop, 2810 Shera Road and 2910 Cary Forest Parkway. Online at jerrycigarshop.com.
Hey, win cash courtesy of Pepsi?
Sure did.
Who you gonna gift it to?
Excuse me?
It does say gift it forward with Pepsi. And it's the season of giving.
I'm not sure. My sister?
Whatever. Gift it forward with Pepsi. For your chance to win, see specially marked 12-packs at your local retailer. Or learn more and see official rules at pepsi.com/giftitforward.
No purchase necessary. Subject to official rules. Must be 18 or older and an official U.S. resident to participate. Void where prohibited.
Driving every day from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio. WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee.
Thursdays are Friday Eve, and that's a reason to celebrate. No matter what you're looking for, they've got you covered every Thursday down in College Town. Centrale offers 50% off select pizzas all day, every Thursday. Or you can stop by Township for Taco Thursday. $2 house tacos, $2. Madison Social offers the Social Agreement. You and a buddy can split one order of wings, 2 Madso burgers, 2 bourbons, 2 proof Madison Socials, all for just $40. See what they did there? And don't worry about parking. Plenty of spaces available in the parking deck or surrounding lots. Check out all the Thursday College Town deals right now on ThursdaysInCollegetown.com.
All aboard the tournament train. ESPN Tallahassee's home for select 2020 basketball watch parties is Hangar 38 in Bannerman Crossing.
Elite in 18, sweet again for the Seminoles in 2019.
Join the Jeff Cameron Show crew at Hangar 38 for select away games and enjoy giveaways, contests, and more.
The Seminoles have it. Another #1 is done.
Check out our next Sports Monster watch party next Wednesday night for the season opener against Pitt. Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Man Cave Monday, brought to you by Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Right on the corner and always right on the price. Check out the latest 2019 inventory at TallahasseeDCJ.com today.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Big day, busy day. Appreciate you joining us. I'm Jeff, that's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming, free, always. If you missed something from today's show or any show for that matter, you can find it after the show concludes, as we do post it on iTunes. Rate, review, share, 5-star, all that good stuff on iTunes, but also on our webpage. You'll see it in the audio vault. You can email if you like, jcs@979espnradio.com. As you can imagine, I'm woefully behind there, but I'll get caught up. And on Twitter, it's @JCameronShow. WTSM app, good for your mobile devices. Hello, YouTubers and Periscopers. Welcome aboard. Speaking of welcome aboard, let's bring in our good buddy, Ira Schoffel, warchant.com, the website. He joins us as he always does on Monday. Hello, Ira.
How you doing, Jeff?
I'm well, buddy. I mean, I think we're all just along for the ride here and trying to do our due diligence. And, we're locked in on the roller coaster. Kind of a sad set of circumstances that lead to that day yesterday and on into today, but nonetheless, not a shocking turn of events. I don't know. I saw you for 2 seconds on Saturday in the press box, and we didn't really get a chance to talk. But as I left that stadium, I did say to my father, that's the kind of loss that can get a man fired. And we kind of talked about it that night as we were at home. And I don't know, did you feel that way? Did you sense after you left that stadium, after you and Corey got done with your report down on the field, that maybe, just maybe, there was an outside chance that this move was coming as quickly as it did?
No, I definitely felt like it was probably the end of the road for Willie Taggart. I just didn't think it would happen that quickly. I thought that, to me, I looked at the last 3 games, and I didn't see a scenario where, you're not going to beat Florida almost certainly. And if you don't beat Florida, then what could he have done in these last 3 games that would have made them feel like, okay, this is going in the right direction? If you had beaten Miami and beaten Boston College, I think then you could make that argument. You'd have the win over Alabama State. You'd still have 7 regular season wins, and there would be some goodwill maybe going forward. But you lose to Miami in the fashion that you lost, and just really every advantage you could have possibly have, you did not take advantage of, and you let them just take whatever they wanted. And so it was a terrible loss. And then there were really no other opportunities to kind of to win back favor. Now, I didn't think they would do it before Boston College, because I felt like, what was the point? But I thought Willie Taggart kind of made that clear today. That David Coburn made that point today, that 6-6 wasn't good enough, and even if you beat Boston College and went to a bowl game, that wasn't enough to keep his job. So, I think that when you take that out of the equation, then ultimately I think the Wake Forest loss and the Miami losses combined are what did him in. If he had won the Miami game, I think it would have saved him. But I really think that Wake Forest game, when you look back to it, was really costly because of, again, how they played, the fact that they were playing a backup quarterback and just did not perform well. And it was a game that basically you knew you were going to have to do some amazing things in the last 4 or 5 weeks to salvage something from the season. So I don't think it was all about that one game, but the way they lost it, I think definitely played a major role.
Well, yeah, because disorganization has been a reoccurring theme in Willie Taggart's tenure here. And I think it was something that we heard discussed behind the scenes. Not everybody was willing to go on the record with the accusations of disorganization behind the scenes. But then the way that it would frequently play out on the football field, well, that lent credence to the assertion that this wasn't as buttoned up as it needed to be, the operation that is, and his coaching staff that is. And so when those problems continue to plague you, like having and I know you tweeted about it on Saturday, and it caused me to laugh. You're not enough men on the field every time we attempt to punt, and you're constantly having to kind of endure penalties for not being able to get lined up properly. You're just not doing yourself any favors. Losing is one thing. There are ways you can lose and still keep your job. Losing in the manner that Willie Taggart was consistently losing in, let alone to his rivals, in which the vast majority of these games have not been close, I think doomed him. And I want to go back to the start. We get to a place now when we have a chance to reflect on Willie Taggart's tenure coming to an end. What do you think was the most crucial error that Willie Taggart made upon taking this job that led to this point where we are today?
I think it's an overall point that I made in a something I wrote on our site, is I just think he didn't appreciate how difficult it is to win at this level. And I think you see it manifest in a couple different ways. One was in terms of the staff he assembled. And I know he got some tough breaks in terms of who he was able to bring in that first year because of time constraints. But I just don't see how you came into this situation. I remember this isn't, Monday morning quarterbacking. As soon as we heard some of these hires, we were just like, man, these resumes don't look like Florida State assistant coaches. And, Jimbo Fisher, we could talk about maybe his ego or him being a micromanager. Those first few staffs, he went out and got SEC coaches. He went out and got Big 12, ACC, SEC coaches. And Willie Taggart surrounded himself with a lot of people that he had worked with before that had never worked at this kind of level. And I think that was a mistake. And I also think from a talent standpoint, I think he really believed that he had better talent than a lot of people he was going to be competing against, and that just by having better talent and getting them to play hard would be enough. And all that talk about being simple and play fast and all that's great, except there are other staffs out there that are working, and they've got good athletes. It's not like 1992 or 1991 where Florida State had so much more talent than everybody in the ACC that they could just roll the ball out there and just run everybody out of the stadium. That's not the case anymore, and Florida State's not that program anymore. And I think he didn't appreciate how you have to really put in the time and the effort and the make the right decisions to win a lot of these games that are going to be close. And I think he thought they were going to out-talent people, and they certainly couldn't do that.
So now I wonder, it certainly seems to me, you've got your sources, I've got mine, we all do our due diligence and talk to, in some cases, many of the same people, but I get a sense after today's press conference and the rooting around to find out what's what, they're not going to fool around here. Do you think they have a candidate, a top candidate already in mind, and that there's a distinct possibility we're going to get this announcement in rather short form, say a week or two?
It definitely seems that way, and I hope that's the case. And I a couple weeks ago when I wrote about his future, one of the things I was trying to get across was, okay, if you make this change, that's fine, but you better know what you're doing. You can't make this change and fire a guy in his second year, and because you're going to get criticized for that. That comes with it, and if you're going to make that change, okay, but you better know what you can replace them with. You can't get into the job market and then get used for leverage by all these coaches and then end up with somebody you didn't really want when you just fired a guy in year two, and now you're taking another gamble. So to me, it's really important for Florida State coach. There's no can't misses. There's no sure things, but you have to hire somebody that's as close to that as possible. So for me, I think they had to have a pretty good feel of what they're going to do and the potential of getting that person, and whether or not they get it done, we'll see. But yeah, I think so, and I also think that's part of the reason you made the decision. You made the decision when you did because you couldn't afford. If you know who you want to hire and you think you can make that happen, you can't afford Willie Taggart to go then beat Boston College, become bowl eligible, and then you feel pressured to keep him. So I think that's another thing that kind of lends me to believe that's where they're going, along with, as you said, David Coburn today making the comment that he wants to have somebody in place by the end of the season. That's going to be difficult to do with a sitting head coach and somebody that you're just starting the process with at this point.
You mentioned it. Florida State will catch some blowback for the decision that they made to let a coach go so soon in his tenure. But I would suggest it better not be any of the media types and talking heads that have been so vociferous in their concerns about the direction of Florida State's football program under Taggart each of the last 5 weeks. Because exactly. Everybody in the country that covers college football, either on television or for the newspapers of the world and websites, have said that Willie Taggart is doing a terrible job and that this isn't going to get better. If they turn around and rather hypocritically then say that Florida State acted too quickly and did not give the man a fair chance, they can all go to hell.
No, it's exactly, and it's to some degree, it's what happened with the end of Coach Bowden's tenure. Florida State was getting ridiculed for how far they had fallen and how they were a JV program. And then when they fired Bobby Bowden, after literally an 8-year slide, people ripped Florida State for unceremoniously getting rid of a legend.
Oh,
So,
I remember it well.
Yeah, and that's probably what's going to happen. I mean, I'm sure some of these people are going to talk out both sides of the mouth. But at the end of the day, I give Florida State's administration credit because this was a situation where we talked about it, where the convenience to let this play out for another year. You get less criticism for it. Everybody would understand it. You could easily get up there and say, look, we believe he deserves a fair chance. We're going to give him at least 3 years. And people would accept that. Now, they wouldn't necessarily go buy tickets.
Nope.
But it would work in terms of a PR standpoint. But, I give them credit for saying, you know what, that's not good enough. What we've seen enough at this point. And I think, just from what I've seen, what you've seen, what we've all watched and heard behind the scenes, I can't argue with it. I think there's been too many mistakes. I think it was a head coach and a coaching staff that were not ready for this level, and I think it showed.
Yeah, and it's a shame because we like him. We like the guy, and I hate to see a guy who, as he stated, get a dream job like this and to have it slip through his fingers. You root for him moving forward because he is a good guy who really does care about the kids and I think really did embrace Florida State's traditions. But at the end of the day, it's all so straightforward most of the time. It really is about the money, and that's directly tied to wins and losses. He didn't win enough games. They didn't look good doing it. They seem certainly disorganized. And to quote David Coburn today, they suffered from an erosion of season ticket sales and booster support. At that point, the decision was made for them. This is as cut and dry as it gets. It's not so straightforward when we talk about the history of the game, but it is straightforward in this situation that money dictated the terms here.
Well, it did, but I also think that if Willie Taggart, if it was a talent issue, and so we compare all these schools, we'll compare Willie Taggart to Jeremy Pruitt, we'll compare him to Scott Frost, we'll compare him to some of these other second-year coaches, and we say, oh, well, what's his record? What's their record? Well, the reality is they're not all the same situation. And if it was a situation where Willie Taggart got here and there was just no talent and there was just no chance that anybody could have done anything, but everything was run the right way. The program was operating at peak efficiency, and you were getting everything you could and making good decisions during games and sound game plans and good management and all those things, but you just didn't have enough talent to win. I think the administration could see that. And you could say, all right, you know what? We know the attendance is going to be bad this year. We hate that. We feel bad about it. We wish you would stay with us, but we believe in this guy. We've seen it. We know he's gonna come through. But they couldn't do that because I don't think they believe that. And so it is the money, but I think it's more than the money. And I also think, as you look to the future, I do think it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to tell other coaches that, you're going to get a fair chance at Florida State. On the flip side, it's also, I think people watch this team play, and at least 2 or 3 times this year, Florida State didn't just lose. They lost to teams that had less talent. So when you go out there and you lose to a Wake Forest, when you go out there and lose to Boise State at home, when you barely beat ULM because they miss a kick, when you lose at home to your arch rival that's not very good and rebuilding too under a first-year head coach, all those things, everybody else can see that too. So from that standpoint, I think if we're being fair to Florida State, they had plenty of reason that it was pretty apparent for people to watch that Willie Taggart at the very least was not getting the most out of this program.
Now I ask your personal opinion, of which we'll get to, certainly debate tomorrow on Seminole Headlines, but you go young, up and coming with the risk that they've never been a head coach, despite being dynamic, perhaps both as a recruiter and play caller, or do you go and try your damnedest to bring in a guy who's done it, who's succeeded at the highest levels, been in charge of major programs, but isn't going to be here long term, maybe a 5 to 6 year fix? Which direction would you go?
I want somebody that's established and that what they're going to do, that they know how to run a program, that they know how to manage people, that they've got a track record, that they're ready to sit at the big boys table, and that everything's going to be run the way it needs to be run. To me, at Florida State, the recruiting takes care of itself. I think that was one of the missteps in this, hiring Willie Taggart. I think they really got excited about the recruiting potential. I really think if Florida State has everything in order in terms of the program, I think the recruiting is going to come. You're in the state of Florida. You've got the spear on the helmet. Kids want to come to Florida State. You got to give them a reason to do it. I think that's more important than a hot, young, up-and-comer recruiter. You need that at West Virginia. You need that at Tulsa or wherever. I don't think you need that at Florida State. You need somebody who can do the job from day one, and the program's going to be run well, and that's the direction I would go. Now, of course, that's probably going to cost a little bit more money. You're not getting somebody up on the come, but at the same time, I don't think they can afford to make a huge mistake on this hire.
Well, buddy, that means we'll be sitting next to each other a couple of weeks from now as we say hello to the new head coach, Bob Stoops.
Let's make it happen, Captain. I'm here for it.
Take care, brother. Talk to you later.
See you, buddy.
That's Ira Schoffel. I don't, we don't know, but that's certainly the name being bantied about. It's interesting, when you start speculating about coaches, whether it's P.J. Fleck or Matt Campbell or an up-and-comer like Tony Elliott, and then you throw in a name like Bob Stoops. Bob Stoops is making $5 million in the XFL.
I don't know that that's – it may be a report, but I don't know that that's verified. If he is, then he's got some kind of skin in the league on top of –
I think he's a part owner or manager of some –
that would be why, because coaches, the upper end of coaches' salaries –
I think he's a GM coach or something like that.
It's $500K. That's the most you can make as a head coach, but yeah. There has to be some extra skin in the game beyond coaching in order for him to make that kind of coin.
Yeah, he's with the XFL Dallas Renegades, and it's kind of interesting. There's a story from February of last year in 2019 when he's at the press conference, looking svelte, I might add, in which he decided to get involved with the franchise and do that. And they talked about the reasons why they liked him. But here's what I'll say about that. It's the freaking XFL. If Bob Stoops has an itch to get back into big-time college football, he loved college football, obviously, and big-time football in general. The XFL is probably, who knows, if it'll even be here a year from now. These are all fly-by-night leagues that never make it. If he once again feels like he has done what he needed to do by taking a respite and being with his family and kind of laying back in the cut and turning over the program to Riley like he did, but then found that he's young enough, energetic enough, and misses the sport enough and would like to get back into college football, Florida State's going to hold more cachet than the freaking XFL.
I think the irony here is, and the one that's going to leave a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths is the next guy is by definition going to get more time here unless they go like 2-12 or 2-10, 2-10, because you have to. I mean, this is a rebuild. You can't, like, the talking point when you come here and you're introduced as the next head coach of Florida State won't be, oh, this is just a retool. If somebody says that, then they've completely missed what's happened here the last couple of years. You're gonna have to have guaranteed more time to flip this thing than Willie got, and that sucks too, optics wise.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, by the way, getting back to your point about, I guess Ira's point about wanting a sure thing, that's why you would hire Bob Stoops, though, right? You got to have somebody in place for 3 to 4 years, no matter what, bare minimum.
Right.
You want a guy who is going to have this thing operating at a pretty high level pretty quickly, and his track record is that he would do that.
Oh, yeah. If you're looking for the safer hire with upside, then Bob Stoops is your guy. I don't think there's any other person, because, you could say that Mark Stoops, his brother, would bring stability, but would he be a safe hire with upside? No, it'd be a safe hire, but not a safe hire with upside. That's what Bob brings to the table here is, okay, we're going to be organized. I can tell you that much. We're going to be organized. Now, can we get some kids in here? Is he going to make the right assistant coaching hires? If he does, next thing you know, we could be competing with Clemson in about a full class from now, 3-4 years from now. Maybe with some luck, you get some transfers. You hire a couple of coaches from around the country that might be able to pull some grad transfers here as a trailing effect. Maybe you could flip it in 2 to 3 years, but probably more like 3 to 4 years.
What I would point out for all the candidates we're going to hear about, you want a combination of obvious competence and success, previous success that you can fall back on and sell, that this guy has done it at the highest level and organized under immense pressure in which the expectations are national championships, right? So Bob Stoops falls under that umbrella nicely, right? he's the safest of the hires if you are to make the hire, in that P.J. Fleck has done it at, Western Michigan and Minnesota. Not exactly Florida State. Not exactly the same sort of responsibility and expectation. If you're taking a young guy that's never been a head coach, like the aforementioned Tony Elliott or Jeff Scott, there is the hindrance of never having been a head coach. Can't know for sure that he's going to be able to handle that responsibility. May know the game, may be dynamic, may be young, but doesn't know what it's like to be a head coach. And then if you take, I think, really any of the other candidates that we're now hearing about, this is going to be a risk-adverse hire. So they're going to try to find the safest thing that is also attached to some cachet, that has some sexy to it, that is a name that people go, oh, they're not fooling around. That's what an Urban Meyer is. Not that they're hiring Urban Meyer,
Right,
they wouldn't.
right.
But that's like these schools know, proven track record, big name, recruits respond. Bob Stoops not Urban Meyer, but Bob Stoops has done some things.
No, Bob Stoops is the guy if that's your criteria.
Yeah.
But again,
I mean,
we
don't
all
know.
have our own criteria,
Yeah.
but this committee is going to have their criteria. The circle of trust over there is going to have their criteria.
Hey, I want to say, too, people get upset by this when you have the athletic director, David Coburn, saying that they're gonna engage a coaching firm or a firm to search, and then in the same breath says that the boosters will be part of the decision making as well. I don't have a problem with that. He's right when he says we're going to be asking them, and in this case, I'll add to it, for millions and millions and millions of dollars. Yeah, they're going to have a say, and it's not that abnormal anywhere for that to be the case.
Well, and it would be normal for them under the new system that we're trying to adopt, which is you got 5 votes on a board, right? And you got university personnel,
Right,
boosters
right. It's
personnel.
not the final say like it used to
Right.
be. It's going to be a say. There's
But
nothing wrong with saying that.
They may get a veto.
Yeah.
You don't get 2 vetoes, but you got a veto.
You got a veto. Wonder what the new head coach's motto is going to be.
Stay with me.
Enough of all this sucking.
Stay
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
40 years at all 3 Garnet and Gold locations, West Pensacola Street, in Killarn near Fresh Market, and on Governor Square Boulevard. Or shop online 24/7 at garnetandgold.com. Shop local and go Noles. One of my favorite things about being a member at Orange Theory Fitness is the sense of community. Initially, after taking the tour and seeing the state-of-the-art equipment, I was intrigued. I became convinced even once I researched the science-backed, technology-tracked, coach-inspired workouts, all of that. But what I didn't count on was the support, the sense of camaraderie shown by the members and the coaches. You realize pretty quickly you're not alone. And when you're pushing yourself through barriers and attempting to be your personal best, you can use all the help you can get. And it's there. It's amongst the members and coaches at Orange Theory Fitness. To learn more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
You know when you gotta be somewhere, it's like really urgent. You don't want to do it over the phone. Some things just can't be said with an LOL or an OMG. Some things just need to be done IRL. So you get in your Nissan Altima and drive. Feel the VC turbo engine instantly react to give you more power and efficiency, so you can get where you need to go.
Hey, Eric. What are you doing here?
Like
Huh?
your social post. I liked it.
Oh, thank you. There's a button for that, right?
I do.
The Nissan Altima, now offering the most tech-advanced engine in its class. This is tech that helps you be there. This is Nissan Intelligent Mobility. Auto-Pacific segmentation. 2020 Altima Platinum versus latest in-market competitors in the premium midsize class. Available feature. World's first production variable compression turbo engine launched by Nissan Motor Company Limited in 2018.
The Starlight Lounge presents An Evening with the Progressive Box.
I took a bit of a risk singing that song, but of course the one place I never take chances is the road, where Progressive Snapshot rewards your safe driving. A good driver plus Snapshot equals big discounts. And speaking of math, 1 + 1 = 2, little too late.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California, North Carolina, or from all agents.
Hi, Chris Kraft. If you served your country, I am speaking exclusively to you, the best and the bravest amongst us. At each of the Kraft Brothers dealerships, Veterans Day is more than just a day on our calendar. If you are a member of the U.S. military who is active, reserve, retired, or a veteran, Kraft announces again this year our generous military discount program. During the Veterans Day week, Kraft will guarantee that you get up to $5,000 off any new car in our lot with no payment until next year. We call it Operation Appreciation. And the Kraft Brothers take it one step further, because to us, it's a lot more than just another day off from work. Every fireman, every policeman, every veteran, Kraft, Nissan, and Infiniti want to help you help your family. Deployed overseas, you still get privileged military pricing and the ability to order for convenient stateside delivery. And at the end of the week, the Kraft Brothers will make another contribution to the Wounded Warrior Project. Respect for every man and woman who chooses to protect our lives and our liberties. Kraft, Nissan, and Infiniti of Tallahassee, thank you for your service.
A Kraft Brothers dealership.
Who's ready for the best wings in Tally and locally brewed beers? Hobbit American Grill is the place to be. They've been voted Tally's best wings again in 2018. Hobbit offers Bingo Mondays, happy hour all-day Fridays with craft beers on tap from all the local breweries. And the Hobbit is your home for all the UFC fights with plenty of high-def TVs for everyone. Be on the lookout for the food truck coming soon with the best lip-smacking wings in town. Hobbit American Grill, celebrating 40 years of serving great food to great friends for good times. For info on their hours and 3 locations, visit them online at myhobbitonline.com.
Hi, this is Peter Bond, owner of Jerry's Cigar Shop. Jerry's has been a local favorite for cigar enthusiasts for the last 25 years. We have the largest walk-in humidors in town, filled to the brim with an amazing cigar selection. Relax in one of our leather chairs and enjoy an ice-cold beer or a glass of wine with your cigar. Jerry's is a great place to watch sports on our big flat-screen TVs and offers a comfortable setting for lively conversation. Visit our original store on Sharer Road or our new second location on Cary Forest Parkway. We hope to see you soon.
You're locked in with the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Stoops won't be making $5 million a year for long when that league goes bankrupt. That's another response.
Yeah, I saw mixed reports on that. But if he's got some skin in the game, then maybe he'll, I don't know, continue investing while coaching in Tallahassee.
It's fascinating. That rumor already in a very short period of time has really been ratcheted up pretty quickly. When we get out of the studio, when we get out of here tonight, we can certainly go about the process of following up on all those rumors. But man, it's pretty crazy how it's one name and one name only that appears to be hyper focused on. And I think sometimes these things will certainly gain a life of their own, if only because many people would see that as a desirable hire, and B, it's the stability that we're seeking.
Yeah, but this would tell me that. If you're just reading the tea leaves, if that hire is made and it's made shortly, that means that these talks were advanced for a long time. Because he's not coaching anywhere else. This is not like the Jimbo to A&M thing from years ago where maybe his person puts a feeler out and then they're having talks. He's not working for anybody right now. No. You could openly discuss stuff with Bob Stoops and nobody would be the wiser.
Well, what it would be is that somewhere along the way, this year, maybe early in the year, maybe, I don't know, after the Virginia game where we absolutely looked ridiculous at the end of that contest, or maybe you fast forward to maybe immediately after the Clemson game where you're just not even on the same playing field. You don't deserve to be on the same field. You're just an embarrassment. You're being mopped the floor with. That at that point they went, okay, I've seen enough of this. We need to start thinking about this. Are we really in this position, guys? This is where we're at. And then somebody puts out a feeler, and the next thing you know, it comes back very quickly that my guy would be very interested. Bob's reached out to by whomever, third party, if something were to come open at a place like Florida State.
Sure.
Is that something you would consider? Is college football something that is back on your radar? Whatever it might be. And then you find the answer you're looking for.
But you could even talk directly to him because he's not needing to run from a booster meeting of his own.
No,
or
but
a
I think you got to be
coach's meeting.
careful with that when you have a head coach in place and you're still undecided. You're not completely on board with moving forward yet. That there was still, I think that's what's most interesting about all of this is that, frankly, and Ira and I were just talking about it. I think it's true. I think he's right when he says there was still an opportunity for Willie to keep his job. You just can't look like we did against Wake and Miami.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. Let's just say that seemingly bizarre scenario comes to fruition, and Bob somehow is here, right? And he takes the gig.
Right now, Tom Lane?
No. I'm just,
in town? Bob, are you listening?
right. He's one of the many people that are listening on Periscope. Viewing on Periscope, YouTube. No. But it would indicate to me that the conversation started earlier and like a lot earlier. And if you juxtapose that with what Coburn said today, just piecing things together, like engaging a search firm, I think the follow-up question for Coburn would be, when exactly did this process begin for you in earnest when you were weighing your options? Because you wouldn't be able to engage a search firm on Monday at 12:30 after the presser, and the next thing you know.
This I know about search firms. They didn't just hire the search firm. This was just, they had been in communication covertly. I'm sure of that. That's how those things work. Now, I don't know exactly when that started, but I would imagine it didn't just happen today.
What I'm saying is if this guy comes in at any time, even within a week, and he's named the coach, then
I think about it 2 weeks.
It wouldn't have been, I'm going to get done with this press conference, and the first thing I'm doing is I'm calling the search firm. Because, guys, I don't know if you heard about this, but in Tallahassee, we have an opening.
No. I think the search firm was reached out to maybe right after the Clemson game, maybe during the Wake game, sweet Jesus, who knows? And, hey, we're going to need to make a change. This is not going the direction I thought it was going. This is not going where we need it to be, and I don't see signs this is going to get better. So the guy still got an outside chance to keep his job. When he says that they had several explicit conversations about expectations, then I don't think it's anything nefarious. I think that's an athletic director walking into a coach saying, hey, man, here's the deal. We got nobody in those damn stands. Booster contributions are down to the lowest they've been in 35 years. You got to win some damn games. You're coaching for your job. Now, I'm not saying he said it like that, but I think it was made abundantly clear. And then at that point, after you've said that, I got no problem. I mean, you've just basically told a guy he's on thin ice, and then over there, when he leaves the office, you've reached out to the coaching search firm and said, what could we get quickly? If we wanted to move forward quickly, if the scenario plays out in the next 3 weeks that we don't see what we need to see, he doesn't meet expectations, who could we get and how quickly could we do it? Because we have to act rapidly.
Well, I'd say, first of all, I wouldn't be surprised if it was that blunt because judging by his interactions with the media so far, Athletic Director Coburn, he strikes everybody as direct because he is. But still, let's just say a decision was made in the near term, I'd say to myself, how much did we vet everything? Did we hone in on this guy? Did we do it again where we picked a guy and there might have been some others that we considered, but we really zeroed in on a person and we attacked it with everything we had? Because I will say this too, when the news came down yesterday and it was just the initial speculation wave of friends calling or people texting, do they have a solution in place? Why would they do it right now on a Sunday afternoon?
You and I said that. I said when they made the announcement, it seems to me that they have a guy in mind. It seems to me that they've gotten an answer that makes them feel pretty good about their chances anyhow. I mean, listen.
I hope they're thorough.
You want them to be thorough, but there's certainly, if you have a dream candidate and that dream candidate says yes immediately, you don't have to be as thorough. You just got the guy that was number one on your list. What the hell's the point of vetting anybody else? I mean, if that's who you thought would bring stability, instant credibility, and he's the necessary bridge for the next 5 years to get back to where you can compete at the highest levels.
Yeah.
Who the hell else are you searching for?
Well, but I could feel that way about Bob personally, but I'd prefer, given what we just went through, if we want to hear from as many people as we can, as many people as we can get on the phone, at this time of year where they're still coaching in different places.
But remember this, two of the people that would be in charge of this, the president and Mr. Burr, are people that already interviewed other candidates the last go-around, including James Franklin at Penn State, including Gary Patterson at TCU. So other coaches that you may be interested in, they would have already talked to.
Yeah, but if you're waiting for a Tony Elliott or a PJ Fleck, you wouldn't be able to November the 4th, you wouldn't be able to conduct those interviews.
It would also tell me that the pool is small. Not because they're not being thorough, but because the parameters of those that they could hire are so
It's like Bob
strict.
Stoops. Who else could you hire on
November?
The first week of November?
Yeah, no. Well, either those other guys that would fit that category are currently employed, so you can't talk to them, and you don't have time to wait on them, or they don't meet the criteria, as in they've never been a head coach before. So now all of a sudden you're talking about 3 guys that you think maybe could fit that criteria, right? It would make it a quick process.
But what Coburn's saying is I'd like to have the answer in place by the end of the season, if
or
not
before,
sooner.
If not sooner, yeah.
You can't really conduct an interview with somebody like PJ Fleck or Mark Stoops, because you know what? They got games to coach between now and that time.
Yeah, why get Mark if you can get Bob?
I get that point. I get that point from an argument, but you know what I'm talking about. Like if you really wanted to consider a PJ Fleck, or you wanted to consider, are they going to come down here in the dead of night? Matt Campbell, are they going to come, or are you going to meet them somewhere and go to the local steakhouse?
Could have already talked to Jimmy Sexton a long time ago, who represents everybody under the sun.
But if you want to vet it, I'd rather talk to the guy more than the agent.
Maybe the agent says my guy's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Maybe Matt Campbell says I'm waiting for that Michigan job to open up or the Ohio State job to open up someday. Maybe PJ Fleck's like, I'm really happy in Minnesota. I got no desire to be in Tallahassee, Florida, and I don't know.
I'm not saying I'm against the Bob Stoops hire. All I'm saying
Why are
is,
you so anti-Bob Stoops?
And so it begins.
Would you stop with this?
I've been through this one before.
You're going to deter my man Bob Stoops from taking the Florida State job.
You know, if he's here in town, he hears ESPN radio, he's like, turn this limo around.
I'm the Twitter guy that's blaming you for Bob Stoops saying no.
I won't have it.
There seems to be uncertainty surrounding my hire. These radio guys are going to make me go back to the XFL.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
Beer frame champion. No matter how you roll, you'll find the best place to bowl is at Hangar 38. Hangar 38 is home to over 75 arcade games, so they're sure to have something for everyone. Zeppelin's at Hangar 38 is a premier full-service restaurant and sports bar, and it's also your place for birthday parties and company outings. Tallahassee, what are you waiting for? Come on out to Zeppelin's Hangar 38, 6668 Thomasville Road behind Walgreens.
Xfinity delivers the fastest internet, the most Wi-Fi coverage throughout your home, and the most Wi-Fi hotspots nationwide. Only from Xfinity. Call, click, or visit an Xfinity store today to experience all Xfinity has to offer.
As sports fans, we all know this is the best time of the year. And the best places to catch all the action are at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill and 7th Hill Tap Room. If you're a fan of an action-packed environment, the Corner Pocket is the place to be. Happy hour specials every day, including all day on Sundays, with sports in HD everywhere you look. For location hours and menu, head to cptallybar.com. Whether you're feeling the upstairs at the Corner Pocket or lounging down at the 7th Hill Tap Room, your game day is always covered. 2475 Appalachie Parkway, right next to Earth Fair.
Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram is the Jeep headquarters of America. We've purchased over 100 Jeep Renegades, and they've all arrived and are on the lot for immediate delivery. 2018 Jeep Renegade Latitude with MSRP starting at $25,120. On sale now for $18,870. That's a savings of $6,250. A new Jeep starting at only $18,870. Those prices are unheard of and can only be found at your Jeep headquarters of America, Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. No other dealer can offer you this kind of savings. We buy in mass quantities and pass along the savings to you. 2018 Jeep Renegade Latitude, starting at $18,870. Payments as low as $299 a month. On the corner of West Tennessee and Capitol Circle, where we're right on the corner and always right on the price. Check us out on the web at TallahasseeDCJ.com. All prices include rebates and incentives plus tax, title, and dealer fee. State number 18J605. Must finance through Chrysler Capital and qualify for all rebates and incentives.
You're on your way to pick up your daughter from her first high school dance. As you pull away, it starts to rain. Hard. Thankfully, you have a new set of premium Trico wiper blades. Engineered for over 100 years to perform in any weather condition. With Trico's full line of premium beam blades, it also means you've got a clear line of sight for her first kiss, too.
Hey, buddy.
Head to your local auto parts retailer for a set of premium Trico wiper blades. Trico, seeing you through.
GT Electric is Tallahassee's premier state-certified electrical contractor. Locally owned and operated for over 20 years, GT Electric offers a variety of electrical services for residential, commercial, and industrial fields, including upgrades, repairs, replacements, and installation. GT Electric also sells and services power generators for commercial buildings, homes, and construction job sites. Call them today at 421-9002. That's 421-9002. Or stop by gtelectricfl.com.
Hey, win cash courtesy of Pepsi?
Sure did.
Who you gonna gift it to?
Excuse me?
It does say gift it forward with Pepsi. And it's the season of giving.
I'm not sure. My sister?
Whatever. Gift it forward with Pepsi. For your chance to win, see specially marked 12-packs at your local retailer. Or learn more and see official rules at pepsi.com/giftitforward.
No purchase necessary. Subject to official rules. Must be 18 or older and an official U.S. resident to participate. Void where prohibited.
Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Man Cave Monday, brought to you by Tallahassee Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Right on the corner and always right on the price. Check out the latest 2019 inventory at TallahasseeDCJ.com today.
It was weird. We went so long, obviously, with a legend as a head coach, and none of the stuff that accompanies a coaching search and the controversies that happen when coaches are hired and fired, and angry fan bases, get involved and voice their opinion, and you get the social media world and all that. That it is admittedly exhilarating. I mean, when you're back in it, now it's not ideal. Obviously, it means you didn't win enough football games and you had to make a change in a period of time that was, obviously reflection of an abject failure. And you don't ever want to be a part of that. But, when we watch this happens elsewhere all the time. And when you watch it play out, you always think to yourself, everybody gets involved. I mean, college football fans are passionate. Everybody's got an opinion about that coach or this assistant or this program and what they represent on the landscape of college football, and how much cachet they have in the view of their fan base as opposed to the rest of the college football loving world and all that. And when you then are part of that, it is fascinating. It's hard not to get wrapped up and emotional. I listen to people yesterday say, they're all weighing in on what Florida State is or is not as a job, right? Everybody's, I'm talking about national types. And it's all, Florida State used to be a top 10 program, but it's nothing close to that now. And who would want to be a part of that? And then rightfully, another talking head would go in and say, man, they're not too far removed from winning a national championship and being in the first ever college football playoff and winning 10 games in the Orange Bowl just a few years ago. So, slow your roll on all that not a top 10 program thing. It's still a great place to be a head football coach and really, obviously, exceptionally fertile recruiting grounds, which is everything. And then you get the counter to that, which is the facilities, and then the counter to that is that's a misnomer that got started by an outgoing coach who was disgruntled, who wanted to give a reason for why he was leaving. And and I sit back, and you can't help it. If you're passionate about the place, you get a little riled up. You want to weigh in there and go, you don't know what you're talking about. The reality is, this isn't the best coaching job in America. Of course it's not. But it is certainly one of the best places to land if you're an up-and-coming coach or even an established coach that wants to make a run at a national championship. And you know how many coaches, how many places there are that you can say that about? Precious few. Why do we at the beginning of every year have the conversation about how many teams are legitimately in the big picture to make the college football playoff and why it's a problem for college football in general, right? Because there are too few teams that have a legitimate shot to win a national title. But you know who are amongst them? Florida State. Florida State is who is amongst them. That's right. When they're operating at peak efficiency at FSU, they absolutely, as evidenced very recently, can win a national championship. You can't say that about any number of programs in this conference, in the SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, you name it. Can't. I mean, you're not winning a national championship at Iowa. Nice program, is what it is. Not winning a national title there.
Yeah, I think the hard part is you mentioned that fans are passionate. College football fans in general are passionate. I agree with you 100%, but what I felt on Saturday over at Doak Campbell Stadium, parking lots, walking up to the game, under the underbelly of the stadium during the game, in the stands during the game, I felt apathy. And the game wasn't over yet. It wasn't 21-10. It wasn't 27-10. It was 7-3. And people are quiet.
Yeah.
They are it was a crowd that felt like a Tuesday at Hauser more than it did a Florida State versus Miami football game. And that's the hard part about Saturday was it's just you felt like the life was already sucked out of the place before the game was decided. And I think that's where we are as a program. That's probably why the decision was made as quickly as it was.
Yeah, you can't continue to allow your rivals to build an even greater lead than they already have in a situation where Florida is trending in the absolute right direction. Alabama, Georgia, LSU, I'm talking about teams in the footprint.
Yeah.
Obviously, Clemson, all light years ahead of where you are right now. These are people that you're tasked with competing against and recruiting against. And now in your own state, you're behind UCF. You're behind the University of Miami, which is been a god-awful mess for 20 years. But they simply put, were a better team on Saturday. They look like a better team in general. They've now won 3 straight against you, so there's no arguing.
No, I mean, and that's a sobering bottom line. Like, we know we're not Clemson. We know that. We know we're not Alabama.
Yeah, this is going to be a good point because you're like, we're not Alabama, we're not Clemson. Yeah, man, we're not UCF.
We're not Miami.
We're not Miami. Sorry-ass Miami.
Right, that's the end of the discussion right there about future of the program, health of the program. We're not Miami. That team just lost to Georgia Tech.
Yes, they did.
We were at home.
Couple weeks ago.
We were at home. Pretty simple.
Yeah, but now, admittedly, again, if you remove – I'm talking about the, some of the more sour and bittered elements of the fan base or the arguments that are being had. I'm just talking about the sensible, passionate, fun, hey, this is still big picture, the sport of college football. We kind of understand our place in it and where we ought to be and where we're not currently and what is it going to take to get there. And that part of it is kind of fun. The soap opera that is college football and the passion that makes up the fan base here and throughout the better places to play college football all weigh in on everybody else's thing, right? So we would weigh in on Georgia when they fire Mark Richt. We'd weigh in on Florida when they're changing their coach. Even though it's a rival, you couldn't wait to say, hope they hire this guy because I don't think he'd get it done. But I hope they don't hire that guy or we're in trouble, right? Right now, that's what's going on. And it is, admittedly, a shot in the arm. It's not where you can't help it. Listen, you and I woke up today texting right off the bat. It wasn't just a ho-hum day going into the office to talk some Florida State football. It was, holy hell. This is going down.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, think about yesterday's conversations. Sure. Before the news broke. We were talking before the NFL started at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And we were talking about...
Would you do it? Can you afford not to do it?
What's holding you back from making this move beyond money? Do you have a reason, like an empirical reason in the way we're playing, in the way the recruiting class
was there
looks?
Something you saw, right?
Did Kendall improve? Is there a reason beyond the buyout to keep Willie beyond this year? And I'll at least speak from my end of our conversation yesterday. I didn't think so. I think if the buyout is the only thing that's in the way and you're looking at costs that are incoming soon because of revenue lost, then you've got to make a tough decision. And you better declare that decision soon, whether it was to keep him or not.
Yeah, you needed to. And we both admitted that even if you decided or you were able to show financially that it was not a wise decision to move on this early, that the buyout was going to be more expensive than keeping him and going through a tough season next year, right? Even if you were able to show that, I said to you at the time, man, this place will be a ghost town next year. You're falling further behind. It's just, I don't know that ultimately you wouldn't make a move if it were close, right? We were kind of talking about even if it were close, I think you'd probably do that because you cannot continue to dig that hole. But I would say this too. I think, truthfully, when you hear David Coburn say, I had to fire a friend today and it was an emotional conversation, I don't lose sight that these are people, that these are lives that are affected and all that. So I don't want folks to think that, now, hey, this is good radio business. This is good for all of us that are in this business, and therefore I'm excited about it. I'm excited about college football every day of the year. I'm excited about Florida State University every day of the year. I'm excited when we're part of something that we're passionate about. But I'm not excited to see people lose jobs, and I don't think the university, for 1 second, wanted to do what they had to do yesterday. I don't think so. And I think today you saw that. I know next hour we're going to talk more about the press conference from today, just as we did earlier today. But yeah, you could see it on his face. David Coburn didn't want to have to do this. President Thrasher clearly didn't want to have to do this. I think President Thrasher probably feels a sense of responsibility for how this turned out. And, the guy loves the university.
He should.
Yeah, absolutely he should. But I'm saying he feels awful about this for both reasons, right? For the reason that he loves the university and it's hurting right now, but also I think he really, really did like Willie Taggart, the man. And, you never want to have to fire somebody that you like, that you believed in, that you trusted in, that you hoped could get it right and just didn't.
No, I wanted, what was the refrain the offseason? It was, can you get out of your own way enough with this schedule, the way it's laid out, to be able to do what you do best, which is flip this roster? He would have been able to if the wins were there. I have no doubt. I'm not revising my stance on whether or not he's a good recruiter. He's a really good recruiter. Mm-hmm. The problem is the coach. The coach got in the way of the recruiter.
Yeah.
To such a degree that you had to make a move here. And I will say one thing I am excited about. I'm not happy about this. I wanted him to.
We both wanted him to succeed.
It would have had a personal, thumbprint.
Touch, yeah.
Right? If we won with him, it would have felt so much more fulfilling than winning with Jimbo, because this is a place he wanted to be. He treasured the tradition here. He helped this place heal.
I think
the first 4 or 5 months of his. Think about the spring game, bringing Bobby back to practice, all that stuff.
Yeah, I think he genuinely loved Florida State. That resonated with Florida State faithful. Yes,
winning at the highest level would have felt even better than it did with Jimbo if Willie was able to do it, but
he didn't.
He didn't.
Go back to it. You referenced the schedule, by the way, Tom. When I stare up at it now, for people who don't see in the studio when we do the show, It's behind you up on the big whiteboard, the big board as we call it. And as I go through and look at that thing, and I think about what this ACC is.
Right. This isn't even 2016's ACC.
Come on, man,
this is more like 2007's ACC.
It's
slim pickings.
Dire.
Yeah. Yeah, and we weren't able to respond. But the one thing I'm excited about, if I can use that word, I know it's not a positive day.
I got you.
Is that we're out of limbo.
Oh, yeah.
I think we were going to be sentenced to limbo for another 12 plus months.
Well,
if it continued.
Can I reveal this? Funny. I'm going to talk about the Tom Lang that's my friend.
Oh, boy.
As opposed to the cohort here on the show and producer. And that is, folks, believe me, I'm relieved that we've made a move, because to see the emptiness, the forlorn wash over Tom's face anytime we broach this subject on or off the air, knowing that we were in limbo, knowing that nothing of any significance was happening with Florida State football in a positive way, left Tom just absolutely bereft of hope.
It's been a long year.
We'd start talking about it, and the conversation would get, a minute and a half in. He'd make one proclamation and just say, well, what are we and it was over.
Because I'm looking at the recruiting class.
I know.
Where are the reinforcements? We're alone on a hill, and here they're coming from all sides. There's no chopper in the air. We're screwed.
Whoever they hire, pancakes, sir.
I know.
Pancakes for all.
It doesn't mean the next person is automatically going to be a success. It's not that I wanted Willie to go. I wanted him to succeed here. If we won 8 games this season, he would have been able to recruit some bigger names. We would have had a class that would have addressed needs, because those guys, once they get you on campus, they get you to say yes. But kids didn't want to be here.
We didn't have enough kids saying yes, and that's why, once again, I'll reiterate to whomever it is that may be listening on the verge of taking this job, pancakes, lots of giant flapjacks for all.
Right. I think you should defer some of your signing bonus or guaranteed salary to flapjacks.
Final hour forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. inspired workouts, all of that. But what I didn't count on was the support, the sense of camaraderie shown by the members and the coaches. You realize pretty quickly you're not alone. And when you're pushing yourself through barriers and attempting to be your personal best, you can use all the help you can get. And it's there. It's amongst the members and coaches at Orange Theory Fitness. To learn more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
It may not be stomach issues.
For me, it's intense gas, or pain, or diarrhea, sometimes all at once. Over and over.
I spent years with the symptoms, but could never figure it out.
No matter what I did, they never went away. So I decided to break it down for my doctor and get really specific about my symptoms.
We discovered that exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, may be the reason for my stomach issues.
EPI is caused by my pancreas. It leads to diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools. The symptoms just don't go away.
But EPI can show up with even one symptom.
The good news? EPI is manageable.
But to get to the right diagnosis, you have to break it down for your doctor and get specific about the severity of your symptoms.
Visit identifyepi.com to learn more and use the symptom checker to help change the conversation with your doctor. Brought to you by AbbVie.
Games for Less, the only locally owned and operated gaming store in town, has Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used video games and game systems. The future of video gaming is at Games for Less, where they have both the PS4 and Xbox One. It's time to trade in your old systems and elevate your gaming experience now. Games for Less is also your headquarters for the best in retro gaming. Atari 2600, original Nintendo, Super NES, or Sega Genesis, you name it. They got it at Games for Less. Games for Less, the Super Walmart Shopping Center on Appalachia Parkway. Give them a call today at 850-219-3535. That's Games for Less.
As sports fans, we all know this is the best time of the year. And the best places to catch all the action are at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill and 7th Hill Tap Room. If you'd like a laid-back atmosphere, the 7th Hill Tap Room is your spot. 24 craft brew taps, plus wine options as well. And when you want to watch the pros, enjoy half off all craft drafts all day on Sundays. So, whether you're feeling the upstairs at the Corner Pocket or lounging down at the 7th Hill Tap Room, your game day is always covered. 2475 Appalachia Parkway, right next to Earth Fair.
Hi, this is Peter Bond, owner of Jerry's Cigar Shop. Jerry's has been a local favorite for cigar enthusiasts for the last 25 years. We have the largest walk-in humidors in town, filled to the brim with an amazing cigar selection. Relax in one of our leather chairs and enjoy an ice-cold beer or a glass of wine with your cigar. Jerry's is a great place to watch sports on our big flat-screen TVs and offers a comfortable setting for lively conversation. Visit our original store on Share Road or our new second location on Cary Forest Parkway. We hope to see you soon.
Thursdays are Friday Eve, and that's a reason to celebrate. No matter what you're looking for, they've got you covered every Thursday down in College Town. Centrale offers 50% off select pizzas all day, every Thursday. Or you can stop by Township for Taco Thursday. $2 house tacos, $2. Madison Social offers the Social Agreement. You and a buddy can split one Aurora wings, 2 Madso burgers, 2 bourbons, 2 proof Madison Socials, all for just $40. See what they did there? And don't worry about parking. Plenty of spaces available in the parking deck or surrounding lots. Check out all the Thursday College Town deals right now on ThursdaysInCollegetown.com.
Hi, welcome to this ad for new Subway sliders starting at $1.89 each. How do you want it?
Cheer Squad. Woo! Go Subway sliders starting at $1.89 each. Give me a $1.89 ham and jack slider.
$1.89 ham and jack slider.
Give me a $1.89 Italian spice slider.
$1.89 Italian spice slider.
What's that spell?
Doesn't really spell anything.
New Subway sliders starting at $1.89 each. Go sliders!
Customization for flavored cheese and sauce at participating shops plus tax. Price higher on delivery. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii.
Driving every day from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio. WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee. Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Man Cave Monday, brought to you by Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Right on the corner and always right on the price. Check out the latest 2019 inventory at TallahasseeDCJ.com today.
Jeff Cameron Show, at least for today. Thanks for tuning to it. Good Monday to all of you. A busy one indeed, chocked full of, well, I don't know, concern, enthusiasm, sadness, anticipation, excitement, all of that. It's all on the table. Hand-wringing. Let's throw that one in there. A lot of hand-wringing. Understandably. It's one of those times where hand-wringing is indeed a reality. It has to be.
Well, we've had so many referendum Mondays the last couple of years. I don't know that today qualifies, because can it be a referendum Monday if, well,
the referendum has been
you've rendered your decision?
Yeah, it's weird in an odd way, I should say. The dismissal, the firing of Willie Taggart allows for us to not have to talk about an abysmal performance on Saturday. I mean, indirectly we do, because it did factor clearly into the decision to fire Willie Taggart. Saturday did him no favors. And it felt that way, too, at the time. But that game now becomes very much secondary as the bigger picture obviously becomes clearer. Florida State was on the precipice of making a move, so we learned. And this was, if you will, a nail in the coffin. This was it. You can't continue to lose football games to your rivals. You can't continue to look bad while doing it, and disorganized, ill-prepared, and expect to retain your job. And I think ultimately it is sad. I've said that a lot today, because I don't like to see good people suffer setbacks. Nobody does. I mean, I think most of us certainly can look at this situation and keep our humanity about us. Even if you believe, adamantly so, that a change needed to be made, you can do so while recognizing then that it's a shame that a guy who, as he described, rose to a place that he had always dreamed of. Willie Taggart had, in fact, landed his dream job and lost it so quickly. That's unfortunate. That's not something you like to see happen to good people. And I think Willie Taggart is a good person. I really do. I believe he's a real advocate for the student athlete, and he certainly loved Florida State University. So this is not ideal. I would not have wanted this to play out that way. I will say this. I'll go back, since I was very much in favor of the hiring of Willie Taggart. I should at least acknowledge that those of us who were in that camp, and I certainly was amongst them, turned out to be wrong. It happens sometimes. Obviously, the university was wrong, too. The president, the athletic director, Ed Burr, David Coburn, Stan Wilcox back then, I should say, were wrong. I thought it was a great hire. I was wrong. It turned out that Willie Taggart, I think, ultimately made two critical errors very early in the process that plagued him throughout his time here and led to yesterday's announcement. And that is the assessment of the talent he had or did not have on this football team upon arriving, and then also his coaching staff. I think he made some poor decisions when putting together a staff. I think he trusted some guys who weren't ready for prime time, weren't ready for a job of this magnitude, and they let him down. And there's a lesson to be learned in all of that, which is if he ever gets the opportunity again, he can take a step back after evaluating his decisions and the things that led to this moment and say, all right, here's where I made a mistake. I trusted some guys that I thought were ready that weren't ready. I need to better vet those situations the next time I get a chance. Willie Taggart's young enough that he might very well get another chance somewhere down the road to be a head coach. But maybe you learn from this, and I wish him well if that happens. I would root for him to have success because I think he cares about student athletes, and I think he cares about doing the right thing. Unfortunately, he didn't win enough, and that is also the stark reality here. He did not win enough football games, and he did not have a structure in place behind the scenes that emboldened Florida State's administration and boosters and fans into believing that things were going to get better in the future. The evidence just wasn't there. You saw, again, unfortunately, on display Saturday, the kind of disorganization and mass confusion that leads to frustrating losses. You cannot continue to have a situation in which you practically lead the country in penalties again, pre-snap stuff that drives you nuts. It's not stuff that is born out of extreme aggression It's not that you play the game violently and fast and that sometimes you take it to the echo of the whistle and get caught. No, it's that you can't get lined up. That lends itself to the right kinds of questions, which is, what is it you say you do here at practice?
Well,
what are we doing?
And I think that that on-field manifestation had its counterparts behind the scenes too. And I think that's what leads to a decision like this to happen so soon. And it leads to a lack of hope behind the scenes that things are going to get turned around. And the thing, I can remember the conversation we had when we were talking about who do you want after Jimbo was going to leave. I can tell you exactly where we were. We're at 7th Hill. And it was you, me, a longtime listener, and a mutual friend of ours. And we're debating. And the debate was actually between, would you want Dan Mullen or would you want Willie Taggart?
That's the irony here. I've told a lot of my friends that we really had whittled it down to the two coaches that came to the respective universities.
Well, and the choices were, and the pros and cons were simple, and they're true. That Dan is a much better game day coach. We knew that, but could he recruit? And Willie was a much better recruiter. Oregon at the time was in the top 5 in the country in the composite recruiting rankings. And that's a school not even with Chip Kelly as their head coach. They never cracked the top 10. And so he's doing some stuff in the Pacific Northwest, getting some kids down from Florida and obviously doing very well on the West Coast. You think, you take that operation and you bring that here and you win just a little bit, you're going to get all of these kids to say yes. And what's going to happen? You'll be able to upgrade the staff. You'll be able to upgrade the behind the scenes as necessary because you've won 8 or 9 games for a year or two, and you get some blue chippers, top 10 players at their positions.
Advantage, yeah.
Right, because you got Jimmys and Joes. Well, he didn't win enough in order for that, because I think it still would have been a strength. If he won 8 or 9 games this year, as was the upper limit of our expectations, he gets a lot of kids to say yes, big-time kids. If he had won 8 games last year, he would have gotten a guy like Thibodeau, who's out at Oregon.
Yeah.
A lot of big-time players would have considered us for a lot longer. And we didn't win enough for his strength to take over.
Yeah, and they underperformed relative to their talent. I understand the offensive line is dreadful, but again, I think this is a group that each of the last 2 years should have been able to win in a down ACC 7 to 8 games. So I think once again you're talking about – listen, here's a good example. Look at Satterfield at Louisville. They've already won 5 games. They won 2 last year. They're improving as the season goes on. We caught them early. It's a good thing. They're winning games now. And that fan base believes they have a guy that is going to move them in the direction they wanted to go, and they're gaining evidence of it along the way. We're in year 2, late in year 2, and there's no evidence that things are moving in the right direction on the football field. I think, again, Coach Taggart, either because of circumstance or because of choice, hired some core guys, some friends that underperformed, that did not get it done. I believe at the end of the day, the David Kelly hire was a failure. It didn't work out, either as a receivers coach or really in any capacity. And I think that you can go back and see some of the decisions and also some things that didn't happen, which is coaches feeling an alignment and a belief in a vision and then following Coach Taggart because they thought the long-term benefits of doing so were where they needed to be. That this guy has an idea of where it's going and how he's going to get there, and I want to be part of that. Too many people said no in retrospect early on in that process, which you don't know it at the time, but might be a red flare. Might be able to, that's kind of strange.
Well, that he said, that he wanted his initial coaching staff to be rounded out by the new year, and it just kind of kept going and going.
Struggled to get people to say yes. It's interesting. There will be folks who say, they found the money to buy Willie Taggart out now, but, there were those moments where he wanted more money for coaches. Florida State was not chintzy about money for a coaching staff. That's a misnomer. Don't believe that narrative. It's simply not true. Florida State was willing to pay for assistant coaches and pay big time for them. In fact, they ended up doing so just a year later.
But not the absurd amount that Oregon was willing to retain its 2 coordinators.
They were not going to overpay for coaches who are not considered elite coaches. They were not, Mario Cristobal's not an elite coach. He'll be lucky to keep that job at Oregon, I think, long term. They're not in love with him. He's winning, but they're not in love with him in terms of a strategist, et cetera. He's not. Leavitt is a guy that There's no questioning his knowledge of the game of football. Yes, it would have probably been nice right out the gates to get him. He chose to stay because they overpaid him, and he thought he was in line to maybe become a head coach. That led to the decision to hire Harlan. Harlan has failed, Willie. He has been a miserable failure here. And once again, when I talk about the staff that he put together, he was let down by. Harlan's a big part of that. I'm not saying Harlan's a bad person at all. He's not. I'm sure he's a great guy, and I've enjoyed my conversations with him. But clearly the product has not been good enough. And also, I'd say very early on in his tenure, we looked like a discombobulated mess. And you look at the beginning of this season as well, guys having no idea where they're supposed to be. That's the kind of stuff that just can't continue.
4-3, 3-4 philosophy thing, it never felt like it was on firm ground.
No. And I just think, again, sometimes it boils down to some simplistic things here. First of all, money. But 3 straight games with not enough men on the field and special teams, having to call timeout, 4 false starts and illegal formation penalties when you're at home. You're not even dealing with crowd noise. And this is the kind of stuff that plagued us week to week to week on the regular. And it's how many times you're going to watch a team take the field with 10 men? That's little league stuff, man. What are we doing? And I think, you couple that with losses and ugly losses, blowout losses to anybody who's any good at all, in particular your rivals, you really just don't give yourself much of a chance. And, that kind of was in line, these missteps, these problems with organization on the field with the stuff that you heard about off the field, which was that they were not a buttoned-up staff in terms of the details in how practice was run, recruiting visits, all these kinds of things that you would constantly hear about behind the scenes being disorganized.
Right, like the equivalent of 10 men being on the field and for special teams. It's not the end of the world, but it's a sign. There were counterparts behind the scenes where you go, really? They didn't have that mapped out? They didn't have those dollars earmarked for this purpose? They didn't get that done by that deadline? Like things like that.
So in the end, we've played some audio for you today, and we've talked an awful lot about what David Coburn had to say, but also, what Odell Higgins had to say and the situation Florida State finds themselves in. And I just think it's fascinating, a few things that were revealed, in particular, the sooner rather than later conversation. They recognized that it was time to ante up, that this was not going to get better, and they needed to get a head start. And that if you don't think things are changing or moving in the right direction, what's the point? They did the math, the economics. We've talked a lot about it all season long. When you walk into that stadium and it's half empty, it's not just the dollars you're losing out on in ticket sales. It's all that goes with it. It's a lack of booster donations. It's a lack of enthusiasm for the program from alumni and supporters throughout the country. It's the people that aren't coming to town, that aren't buying up new shirts, souvenir cups, you name it, right? Yeah. All of the things that are lacking in that moment lead to an economic decision. It was my conversation with Andy Staples. It was the constant conversation we had this year.
Well, we're walking into the stadium on Saturday, and we stopped by a tailgate that's near the circus, and that parking lot is, in trouble. It doesn't look very full. And I said, can you believe it's this empty? And the person who tailgates there said, well, this is the fullest it's been all season. It's not even close. Usually a ghost town out here. So today was actually impressive. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is Florida State, Miami. So that tells me, plus the fact that you're looking at whatever it was, 60-some-odd thousand in the stands, that you had a lot of local people buy tickets for this game. You didn't have a whole ton of people travel up, the Golden Chief level folks. It's tough. It's tough to overcome, and the university said unequivocally it's impossible to overcome as we're currently comprised, and so therefore a change needs to be made.
Yeah, no choice. The president of the university, President Thrasher, stating in the initial announcement when they terminated the contract of head coach Willie Taggart, they had, quote, no choice. And then, today with Coburn saying, I didn't see any upside in waiting. Frankly, 6-6 is not good enough. We didn't see any advantage to wait until the end of the season. Well, there it was. They really summarized everything very neatly here. And it's a sad day. It's a sad day, but it's one that I think a lot of people saw coming and one that was necessary.
It is, but I applaud the administration for having the guts to do this now. It takes guts,
more than
dollars.
They're going to get some pushback, sure.
But then I also, at the same time, two sides of this coin, I hold my breath that they get this one right, and the process is well mapped out and thought out. They've bought themselves more time, but that doesn't necessarily mean
that they'll
this
do
thing,
it the right way.
Right. So I applaud it, but then I'm also saying, all right, guys, that's only one half of the equation here.
In a perpetual state of clicky pins, we have been. I mean, my goodness, clicky pin city over here, right? Start of practice this past year, going all the way back to spring on into the fall. Clicky pins throughout the year, and now clicky pins for the hiring process of the next coach. 2 fingers to my eyes, 2 fingers back to you in a big-time manner.
Just use both hands and just leave them in that fixed position.
Oh, yeah, and a whole lot of people holding their breath. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
If you're unable to come to us, we can come to you day or night. Call us now, 855-HOSE-305 for your free consultation today. The Law Office of Jose Fernandez. We don't get paid until you do. Offices, Tallahassee, Miami. JRFinjury.com. Go Noles.
Who's ready for the best wings in Tally and locally brewed beers? Hobbit American Grill is the place to be. They've been voted Tally's best wings again in 2018. Hobbit offers Bingo Mondays, happy hour all day Fridays with craft beers on tap from all the local breweries. And the Hobbit is your home for all the UFC fights with plenty of high-def TVs for everyone. Be on the lookout for the food truck coming soon with the best lip-smacking wings in town. Hobbit American Grill, celebrating 40 years of serving great food to great friends for good times. For info on their hours and 3 locations, visit them online at myhobbitonline.com.
Hi, welcome to this ad for new Subway sliders starting at $1.89 each. How do you want it?
Cheer Squad. Woo! Go Subway sliders starting at $1.89 each. Give me a $1.89 ham and jack slider.
$1.89 ham and jack slider.
Give me a $1.89 Italian spice slider.
$1.89 Italian spice slider.
What's that spell?
Doesn't really spell anything.
New Subway sliders starting at $1.89 each. Go Sliders!
Customization for flavored cheese and sauce at participating shops plus tax. Price higher on delivery. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii.
It's bow time at Bojangles. Come in today for a 3 Chicken Supremes dinner for just $4.99. Each Chicken Supremes dinner comes with 3 of our bold, craveable chicken tenders, your choice of fixin', and a fresh buttery biscuit. Plus, you'll get a free legendary iced tea. For a limited time, get Bojangles 3 Chicken Supremes dinner with your choice of fixin' and a biscuit for just $4.99. And don't forget that free iced tea. Bojangles, it's bow time, y'all.
Hi, Chris Kraft. If you served your country, I am speaking exclusively to you, the best and the bravest amongst us. At each of the Kraft Brothers dealerships, Veterans Day is more than just a day on our calendar. If you are a member of the U.S. military who is active, reserve, retired, or a veteran, Kraft announces again this year our generous military discount program. During the Veterans Day week, Kraft will guarantee that you get up to $5,000 off any new car in our lot with no payment until next year. We call it Operation Appreciation. And the Kraft Brothers take it one step further. Because to us, it's a lot more than just another day off from work. Every fireman, every policeman, every veteran, Kraft, Nissan, and Infiniti want to help you help your family. Deployed overseas, you still get privileged military pricing and the ability to order for convenient stateside delivery. And at the end of the week, the Kraft Brothers will make another contribution to the Wounded Warrior Project. Respect for every man and woman who chooses to protect our lives and our liberties. Kraft, Nissan, and Infiniti of Tallahassee, thank you for your service.
A Kraft Brothers dealership.
Barry knows cool, he's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool, you can put him to the test.
Deciding whether or not to fix something that has worked well for a long time can be a tough choice. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air, we'll help you decide on whether to repair your existing system or consider new energy-efficient options. Book your repair or service appointment online in under a minute at baranoac.com. Florida license number CAC 1816186.
Hey, win cash courtesy of Pepsi?
Sure did.
Who you gonna gift it to?
Excuse me?
It does say gift it forward with Pepsi. And it's the season of giving.
I'm not sure. My sister?
Whatever. Gift it forward with Pepsi. For your chance to win, see specially marked 12-packs at your local retailer. Or learn more and see official rules at pepsi.com/giftitforward.
No purchase necessary. Subject to official rules. Must be 18 or older and an official U.S. resident to participate. Void where prohibited.
The Jeff Cameron Show is brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener. Big store pricing with local service. Online at ctf.nu.
Yeah, a lot of questions about what happens in recruiting making their way in today. As you can expect, when you make a change of this magnitude, you're going to lose recruits. Uncertainty does not appeal to people making decisions about where they're going to spend the next 4 years, 3 years, 5 years of their lives. You'd like to know, in the case of a player, who you're playing for and who's going to be in charge. So anytime you make a coaching change, at least initially, there's pushback, there's blowback for that action. Now, some of that can be terrible, some of that can end up being good. I mean, depends on who you hire and how quickly you hire them. I do think it's interesting that David Coburn, amongst many other things we've highlighted here and that you've heard him say, in terms of how quickly they want to have this coach in place. His quote was, they want a coach in place when the season ends, if not before. Wow. Okay, so we're going to engage a search firm. But that's a quick turnaround, Tom. We play Boston College.
That's good money for that search firm.
Well, you play Boston College on the 9th. You got Alabama State on the 16th, a bye week, and then Florida on the 30th. Today's the 4th. We're talking less than a month that you will have done your search and hired a coach and have him in place moving forward, which I get. This is all part of needing people in these positions sooner rather than later in the new reality to meet the demands of the early signing period, if you're going to salvage something of it. There are a couple of schools of thought on this, and I thought about this when they made the decision to let him go. You could just punt on that class. You're going to, I don't mean completely. You got to get some people in here, but in particular, JUCO offensive linemen. But you can probably expect you're not going to be able to salvage much of that class and just live with that as part of, having to do business. This is part of what happens when you make a change, so long as you get the next thing right. That's what's most important. So that takes more time than you'd like. Fine, understand that you're in trouble with this class, but long-term, you're doing what's best. That's not always the answer. It could very well be that you have a guy in place and you have a guy in mind who's interested, who's a name, who would salvage that class. So you could have your cake and eat it too in that situation.
Yeah, you're giving yourself the best crack to have your cake and eat it too. I don't expect us to, but I think if this is the move that you were going to make after the Florida game, this is so much better than having clandestine meetings for the next 4 weeks and trying to keep that, these off-site meetings in different towns because people will track, flights or if we lost to Boston College, people will be looking for that type of information anyway. So I think what this does is if you're more transparent about it, you might get a phone call from Jimmy Sexton or a coach's middle person because they know the job is open. They're not calling about a job that might be open. They're calling about a job that is open.
Yeah.
So I think what this does is it affords you the best opportunity.
It accelerates it.
Yeah.
Without question.
The math is completely changed by the early signing period.
It's a new reality in college football, and it's been a harsh one for many who are in their second year. Obviously, Willie Taggart lost his job yesterday, but there are a lot of second-year guys who are really struggling, who are all part of that new reality with the early signing period, and who took jobs and who are all struggling.
Well, and to be clear, I don't mean necessarily the math of you only get 2 years or less than 2 years. I'm saying the math of when you fire somebody.
When you fire somebody, without question. I also thought, and I just want to go back and touch on that, we heard him say, because a lot of people ask the question, well, had this been Had this been pre-planned? Had this been looming? Was this something that was being built up? Or was it just the fact that they looked so damn bad on Saturday against an average to poor Miami team who happens to be a rival? Was it that many of the problems they saw on the field, as athletic director David Coburn referenced, reminded us of what we saw against Virginia Tech in Willie Taggart's very first game? Was it all these things? Well, the answer is, quote, we had several explicit conversations about what the expectations were. This goes back. You and I have had this conversation. When he spoke over at Amelia Island, I believe it was, and he defended Coach Taggart at that point, noting that Willie had inherited a bit more of a nightmare than people realized, and that, yes, year one wasn't good, but you must understand the situation behind the scenes was worse than what people realize. On the one hand, people say, well, if you're going to admit that and tell everybody that, how can you fire him less than a year later? On the other hand, he ended that defense of Willie Taggart with the comment that, wins and losses in essence matter.
Yeah, no, they went hand in hand. That was never an isolated quote that said that, and so therefore, or implies, and so therefore he has a year or two more.
Right.
It said, but at the end of the day, ticket sales do drive my decision making. I can only do so much from a P&L standpoint as the athletic director if we're not winning football games. All these things I'm doing to cut costs mean nothing if we're not winning football games and we're not grabbing season tickets and even 3-game package sales.
Yeah, so the fact that they were just absolutely hemorrhaging money, the W's, the L's, and the money. It's what you've always known to be true. Yes, got to win games. We kept saying that almost as a catchphrase at the end of it all. We would talk and pontificate about all these different things about what's fair, what's not fair, the reality of the situation, who's in charge, and then at the end we'd go, yeah, but you got to win some games.
Well, and that's the deal. When this thing started to really ratchet up after the Wake Forest game, and I mean, in some ways it ratcheted up earlier than that, but the conversation got real. It was always to me about how much does it cost to keep them. Mm-hmm. That's an important, because maybe the answer was, listen, you've got to stick it out.
Right.
It'll cost you a little bit, but the home schedule improves next year, and so we might have to wear it a little bit.
We were thinking we might be handcuffed.
But yeah, I mean, when you already float something out. Andy Staples put it out that the number's around 8 or 9 million. That's just in ticket sales. Well, think about who the boosters are. A lot of them are local business people here in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
And what happens to your business?
Costing them tons of money.
So that's only the tip of the iceberg, right? Is that 8 or 9 million? Because now you're talking about projections of boosters who they give at certain levels for the university. They can't anymore because their businesses are impacted, or they won't because they have to prepare for winter. Winter is here. Nobody's coming. Those types of things. And then you're talking about concessions.
Yeah.
You're talking about booster contributions for any other sports because people don't feel the same spirit to be a Knoll. I mean, ticket sales are just the beginning.
To be sure. And it was always going to drive the conversation. And the more that place was vacated and the less you felt the fervor and the more local businesses were impacted, and the fewer donations and the consistency of those donations that came in across the country of Knowles everywhere, the faster this was going to happen. And it all got ratcheted up very, very quickly. And it's because the product on the field wasn't good enough.
Well, we were talking to somebody just before the game kicked off, and they were telling a story in their past about marketing and sales and how they had this huge contract that they would get for a racing team. And he said, I'll throw random numbers out there instead of the precise ones. But he said, they're supposed to spend, $6 million a year with us. But they said, I'm losing $1 million a day because of the economy. So I'm sorry, I can't spend that $6 million with you. But you understand if I'm losing this much per day.
Sure.
That's a conversation that Florida State has to have with a lot of top-end boosters if this continued into next year. If they haven't already had that conversation because of the things that have happened before we get to next season.
And a lot of those guys were in town on Saturday. A lot of those major money guys were in town to take in that debacle on Saturday. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Sorry, boys, I did not have time to pack.
We got this.
It's right here, guys.
We got this.
I thought I could handle it.
We got this.
Moving doesn't have to be a hassle. Call us first at 2 Men and a Truck. No matter the move, home or business, we'll make it a smooth one.
I forgot something.
We got this.
Only take cases involving real injuries. If you know you aren't hurt but think you can fool your way into a quick settlement, we're not the firm for you. We encourage our clients to heal up and get better, not sit on the couch and expect a windfall. Third, we don't want clients who are just in it for the money. If the very first thing you think of after getting hurt is calling pound something or other on your cell phone instead of calling 911, we're not the firm for you. Your health should always come first. And finally, we won't blow smoke about a big money outcome just to get your case. Other firms overpromise and underdeliver. Our only promise is that we'll work harder than anyone to get you the best result. Remember, the law firm you have representing you makes all the difference, so don't settle for less. Call Fonville, Lewis, Messer, McConaughey, and let us put our reputation to work for you.
As the leaves are falling, so are the DeWalt prices at Cornerstone Tool and Fastener. The Build Your Own DeWalt Kit promotion is back. Buy 2 select bare tools and get a DeWalt starter kit at no charge. That's 2 5-amp-hour batteries and charger. And there's more. Purchase a DeWalt drill and impact kit and get an additional 5-amp-hour battery and a free bare tool. Choose from impacts, drills, grinders, and more. That's 3 tools and 3 5-amp-hour batteries exclusively at Cornerstone. 1110 Stuckey Ave and 3269 Crawfordville Highway. Tallahassee location open on Saturdays from 8 a.m. until noon.
Looking for a bit of cowboy flavor? Introducing Hardee's Southwest Patty Melt, a hearty sandwich with all the taste of the great American Southwest. We're talking a hotter, juicier, thick burger made with 100% black Angus beef, pepper jack cheese, zesty Santa Fe sauce, and enough pickled jalapenos to give it a kick. If it got any more authentic, we'd have to serve it with a cactus and a side of tumbleweeds. The Southwest Patty Melt, now at Hardee's. Available for a limited time after regular breakfast hours at participating Hardee's. Hotter and juicier beef patty as compared to the Hardee's original beef patty.
Win an ultimate Fan Cave experience. Text Fan Cave to 66555 and enter to win a $1,500 prize giveaway from Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch beverage distributor Tri-Eagle Sales. Win a 50-inch flat screen TV, refrigerator for your ice-cold Bud Light, and more. Text Fan Cave to 66555 or visit trieaglesales.com. Bud Light, famous among friends. Must be 21 or older. Please drink responsibly. A message from local beverage distributor Tri-Eagle Sales.
Ho, ho, ho! The holidays are here, and the Florida Lottery has the must-get gifts of the season. Holiday Luck Scratch-Offs. They offer over 21 million winning tickets and more than $483 million in cash prizes. Wow! These are great!
Santa, where are you going?
Gotta get one!
Holiday Luck Scratch-Offs. Pretty much everyone's gonna want them. The Florida Lottery. It's your ticket.
Claim it!
Must be 18 or older to play. Play responsibly.
People trust Sellers for better tile, carpet, and hardwood flooring. Sellers Flooring Advisor Ryan Fitzgerald.
We understand most people don't come in with great knowledge of what they're looking for or what they need. So at Sellers, what we try to do is use our expertise to guide you through the process.
Get Sellers working for you.
We make it easy, and we have the experts on staff to get you where you need to be, and we give you the options.
On Capitol Circle Northeast, just north of Mahan Drive. Call 656-8453. Online at sellerstile.com.
Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Man Cave Monday, brought to you by Tallahassee Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Right on the corner and always right on the price. Check out the latest 2019 inventory at TallahasseeDCJ.com today.
Will be voice crack there late in the show. When this show concludes, you'll get a 30-minute edition of Front Row Noles First Look. Obviously, like everybody else in this business that covers this team, kind of scrambling around to adjust to the news that came down yesterday evening, afternoon, I should say. I guess. What exactly was the time? I'm trying to think where I was.
It was around 2, 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
It was, so I was watching the 1 o'clock window, and I had taken a cat nap on the couch, and I woke up to an alert.
Mm-hmm.
Red alert.
Yeah. No, it made me sad. You know, we've spent most of the day today talking about what Florida State has to do and what's next and why it happened and what would you like to see. And, you know, you kind of have an awful lot of it's a roller coaster. You have an awful lot of emotions when something like this plays out. But one thing for sure that I I wanted to make abundantly clear is that it's certainly, and then, I think by and large it's a mistake to judge the fan base or believe that the fan base is represented by knuckleheads on Twitter, because they're not. Those are lone or scarcely populated, very vocal nut jobs that say outlandish things and revel in one's failure. Because I think most people today that I've spoken to, and I've talked to a ton of Florida State fans, either email or those who direct message you on Twitter, or that I ran into, or that I talked to with other news outlets and so forth, that they're just kind of sad. Like, you don't want to see that. No, this isn't a good day for Florida State. It's not a good day for Willie Taggart, obviously. It's not a great day for the community. But this is the reality of the business. I had somebody say that, last night, I take no satisfaction to see a man fail at his job. And I said, well, I too take no satisfaction, but here's the deal. In a zero-sum game, it pays to be on the right side of the ledger. You got to win games. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. You have to win football games, and you can't be disorganized, and you can't look disorganized because of the confusion behind the scenes, off the field, and the things that went on here over the course of 2 years, and have it play out the way it did on the field. Not against your rivals, not against anybody. But it's especially bad when it happens against your rival programs, your peers, if you will, that you're expected to be able to compete against. And I think Florida State was kind of left, as President Thrasher said, with no choice. The economics of the situation became that reality, and at that point they decided to get out in front of it and make the move. If you're going to make it at the end of the year, you might as well make it now. But again, just to reiterate, it's not a good day. It's the exclamation point on a failure by the administration, a failure by the coaching staff, and so. That reality is harsh. Now you just pick up the pieces and move on. Listen, it's made a lot easier. It's not like Coach Taggart doesn't know where his next meal is coming from or how he's going to pay the bills. So there's plenty of money there. He wasn't a volunteer. He got paid handsomely. And as I like to say, when it's other coaches who I don't know and I see from afar about this day, hey, it's a kiss my ass on Main Street moment for many coaches the second they're told their services are no longer needed, because they just became very, very, very rich without the burden of having to work any longer. So I'm not saying cry yourself to sleep tonight, but nonetheless, having said all of that, what's not removed is the sense of failure, and I'm sure frustration and anger and to a degree shame. All of us have failed at an endeavor before, at something that we really cared about or wanted to achieve, and it's hard. It's hard to take, and money doesn't change that. So Willie Taggart called this his dream job. He had it for less than 2 years. There's no other way to describe this than an abject failure. And that has to hurt today. And I feel sorry, for him in that sense. Listen, it's relative to sports. Again, he's not looking for his next paycheck, and he's not wondering where his next meal is. He'll be able to provide. But it's still tough to look in the mirror and know that. And really, from a professional standpoint, this is a heck of a setback. Because, I don't know how quickly people are going to be knocking on his door to hire Willie Taggart.
No, I agree with you there. Yeah, I'm mixed today. Obviously, I wanted to see this guy succeed because he was a human being when he got here. It felt so nice, like a breath of fresh air. Not just the press conference stuff, like his initial press conference where you can see how much Florida State meant to him, and it felt like one of our own was here. Just, behind the scenes, he was a normal person.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And, I don't know the next person's going to be like that, but at the same time, I could tell you the image that I can't get out of my head all day today and yesterday as well, even before the news came down, was this is Florida State, Miami. It's beautiful weather on a Saturday in Tallahassee, and it felt like an important game against Louisville from 5 years ago. It didn't feel like a rivalry game. People weren't pounding their chest going into Doak Campbell. Everybody was timid. The conversations I heard, and the underbelly of the stadium on the alumni side, conversations up and down the ramp. This is before the game started. Everybody's timid. They're hopeful we're going to win, but they don't expect us to.
No, nobody. It's funny. I think very few people held with great conviction the idea that they were going to go out there and play well and win the game Saturday.
It's funny because, so on Friday when we're doing the remote of the corner pocket and we have the score predictor contest, 80 to 90% of the people are picking the Noles. And I thought, wow, okay, people are feeling all right about this game. But then you listen to the conversations. I'm telling you, it's at least a 4-to-1, 5-to-1 ratio walking around before kickoff. Like, I don't know. I don't like this.
I think it's sad. The commentary there is that they picked Florida State by default because Miami wasn't any good either. So it wasn't anything they thought we would do. It was more that what they thought Miami wasn't capable of doing, and that we are at home. So maybe in a coin flip game, you're at home, you garner a little bit of momentum. I thought it was very important that they avoid letting happen what happened, which was Miami to score on a long, explosive play to kick off the scoring. They needed to get out front and ride the wave of momentum that home field provides, and the confidence and the booing feeling you have when backed by your fans in a rivalry game in which you both enter without a whole hell of a lot of confidence, but get that first score, right? The second Miami scored, they believed they were going to win.
Yeah.
Doubt entered the picture again. Doak fell silent, and we watched a mess of an effort. You have all of the pre-snap penalties. You can't block them, and you can't get home on the defensive end. And really from there, it was an exercise in futility. I kind of felt like, honestly, oddly enough, going into halftime, I thought this is over. Miami's going to have to choke this away. They're going to have to blow it. We're not going to put anything together.
By the time you get to halftime, it was a little bleak, just a little bit. And honestly, I remember sitting there as the halftime proceedings started, and they honored the Florida State booster, spending a ton of money, obviously.
$5 million, right?
Right. Well, that'll get you a hug on the field before everybody, right?
Yep.
But I was watching, John Thrasher, I was watching Director Coburn, and I was watching Andy Miller. Because they were on the Jumbotron, but I was pretty close to where I could see them from the seats that I had. Just looking for anything from their facial expression. I'm like, do they feel it? They've got to feel how stale it is in this place. I mean, even, kickoff in the early moments, you have a couple of opportunities for a defensive stand, and you get a 3-and-out to start. The place was loud, but it was kind of like loud because they thought they had to be rather than they wanted to be. It's a different, having been in that place for the lost decade and then 29 straight, and now this period of time that we haven't given it a title yet, I could tell the difference between when the crowd feels like they should be versus when they can't wait to get loud. And this was the former of those two all day on Saturday, even before things got ugly.
And now I think there's a sense of foreboding that, you can be excited that they decided to move on. It's less about reveling in one's failure and more about, okay, I think this needed to end sooner rather than later. I'm excited they made the move, and okay, let's find out what they're going to do. But the truth is, we're all very, very nervous because Florida State doesn't have the deep pockets that most of the institutions that have to fire a coach in a short period of time and turn around and hire another staff have. So when you look at, let's say Notre Dame has to make a quick hire and fire, or Alabama, or Clemson with the IPTAY fund, or anybody like Stanford or whatever, and I say Stanford just because they have deep, deep, deep pockets, but there are plenty of schools out there that can endure the kind of uncertainty we're describing, where you miss on a hire, you don't waste time, you fire, you pay off the previous group, you bring in the next group, roll on Big River, hope to accrue enough on the back end of this, and you start winning again, that it makes up for the losses in the short term, and everything's okay. Florida State can't have back-to-back losses. They can't have back-to-back losses. They need to hit on this higher, and I think that's what leads to the sense of dread that I'm hearing from a lot of fans today. Now, they couldn't afford to wait around either. They had to make the move that they had to do. It was a sinking proposition. We understand that. Sunk funds. They had to move on. But you got to get this one right. And I think what you get concerned about is you wonder who is that guy that gives you a sense of security, that gives you a sense of belief that, okay, I don't know if this guy's going to be a national championship coach. There are very precious few of those, obviously. But he's a guy I'm pretty sure we can count on to win 10 games, create stability and organization behind the scenes, get us back to where we're competitive against Clemson in the ACC, being a perennial top 20 team. And in the next 5 to 7 years, we're on our feet again. We're okay financially. And if we have to move on from that individual, we're in a good position to do it. That's the guy you're trying to find here to bridge the gap. You'd love to home run. You'd love to have a guy that comes in and wins 2 national championships and all of that. But in reality, what you better find is that stability that I'm describing. Somebody who is a proven winner and a proven organizer and a proven head coach. I like the idea of hiring, as I said earlier, up-and-coming stars of the coaching profession, that everybody who talks to them and analyzes them and really gets a good understanding of who they are says is going to be a hit. But we're not in a position to take the chance that they have growing pains when they become a first-time head coach. And that's unfortunate because you end up limiting the field. I think Tony Elliott would be great, but I think most of the people in the administration and in this fan base would say, well, hold on, he may very well be brilliant, organized, disciplined, all of the things you're describing, but he's never been a head coach, and that's a different deal.
Yeah.
And in truth, it is a different deal.
Well, yeah, but a head coach at what level? You need a head coach at a Power 5 level, right? This is what you just had a head coach. Somebody who has flipped programs.
No, at a Power 5 level, yes.
And the coach before that was a coordinator at a Power 5 level only. He had the head coach in waiting leg up, but still.
Big leg up and had been the OC for a record-setting offense in the SEC for a national championship coach. That helped.
Well, that would open the door then.
That would open the door for a Tony Elliott. But
or
he
Brent
hasn't been,
Venables, yeah.
Yeah, and he hasn't been a head coach in waiting yet, though.
Yeah.
And all that. Yeah.
I can understand the idea that we're operating in a reality where you want a table setter with upside versus the sexy, risky hire. I get that.
Yeah, boomer bust hire, right? A guy that is going to hit it out the park that we're going to look back at years from now and they go, man, that was the smart move at the right time. Boy, did this guy turn out to be a stud. But with that hire would also be the, I don't know, that floor is awfully scary.
Yeah.
I don't know. What if he swings and misses? What if he doesn't have his ducks in a row because he's never been a head coach and he's unable to survive those first 2 years of transition? And I think that's a big part of it. You better have somebody who has swum in these waters, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a tough time at Florida State right now.
Well, like, for example, you look at somebody who you think, wow, look at what he's done with so little to work with, and that's Clausen up at Wake Forest. Mm-hmm. Every time somebody mentions a name in the media or, on the social media sphere, it's like, well, that's the guy you want if you're mentioning that name. I'm not. Let's just vet this for a minute, though. Let's say that he was a finalist. Okay, the argument would be, look at what he's done at a program like Wake Forest to secure facilities, to improve that thing from a dumpster fire that he was willing to admit on the record to David Hale was a dumpster fire into a group that plays above its head. Mm-hmm. That's all well and good. But this is still Florida State.
It's Florida State.
Didn't we just learn a lesson here that while Willie left every single place that he was a head coach of better than he found it until he got here, this is a different animal. Are you ready for this? So does that narrow your list even more? That you're looking for somebody like a Bob Stoops who has won and has coached and led a big-time college football program, and he helped transition them in a time of need to get right.
And
it may have been 20 years ago, but,
Yeah, well, and he's 50, what is he, 59?
59,
yeah. Okay.
Saban was 56 when he took the Bama job.
No, 59 is not old. It's up there, but it's not old, especially if you're looking at a guy that you think, all right, well.
He feels older because he's been around forever.
No doubt, but running a major program with very needy boosters and a lot of demands, he has proven himself capable of. So I think that's part of it. Now, listen, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen here. I mean, we're in the 48-hour stretch of time where wild speculation is the norm. So you're going to hear, I'm going to hear, we're all going to have sources that say and tell us a lot of things. Initially, I would say for people who hopped in their car and just caught this last segment, there's no question that the last 24 hours, the name you hear most prominently is Bob Stoops. I don't know if that's wishful thinking. I don't know if that's, hey, the university has targeted him and feel good about where that's headed. I don't know, but that's the name that has been bantied about the most up to this point.
For me, just to complete the thought from earlier where I said I feel mixed today.
Yeah.
I do feel mixed because part of me feels relieved. This thing wasn't going to get better. And I remember walking out of the stadium on Saturday and thinking to myself, I said it to a mutual friend of ours, client of ours, watching the game with, I just have a really hard time. I think it's almost impossible for Willie to run out of that tunnel against South Alabama. Or Alabama State, sorry.
Yeah.
It just, you got 15,000 people he's running out there, and they got to put the Jumbotron video up. I'm like, man, That's a really hard sell after today. Like, it's almost impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think we'd actually make the change, but it just felt like it would have been surreal for that particular game because it would be a lame duck experience, and I just didn't know how people were going to react to that beyond not showing up. I just wondered.
I was going to say that's one way.
But what about the people who do show up? I was just like, oh, boy, this is going to be a nightmare. So part of me is relieved here because the offensive line recruiting wasn't going to improve by this early signing period or by February's National Signing Day. You had rampant speculation already about whether or not Kendall and Randy Clements were going to be back this year. It felt like we were stuck on a course for another 12, 13 months that just wasn't going to work. So there is very much a part of me today that says, okay, we hit the reset button. This is not ideal. This was a really difficult choice. Both choices would have been bad. Is this the less bad of the two choices? Let's find out. But at least we've got something to look forward to here because it certainly wasn't the Florida game.
It's funny, Tom, you talk about him running out of that tunnel and what the thought would have been. You know what echoed in my head all night Saturday night and again yesterday, leading right up to the news that he was fired? I remember when I went back on Saturday night when I got home and I sat down to digest those numbers. I knew it was bad, but I wanted to see just how bad, and did I remember things properly? Never mind all the penalties and the pre-snap, can't get lined up yet again. Third straight game, you got 10 men on the
10
field.
dudes twice.
It's the dumbest damn thing in the world, and that's really more than anything else that probably cost you your job. But you want to look at those drive charts. I'll tell you what, that'll hurt your feelings. You talk about being ill-prepared to play a football game. And you look at 4 plays, 7 yards, 4 plays, -2 yards, 17 plays, 54 yards. By the way, that drive, the 17-play, 54-yard drive, pissed me off. I was ashamed of that drive. That's pathetic. 17 plays to go 54. Anyhow, talk about the very definition of lack of explosiveness.
Yeah.
3 plays, 3 yards, 4 plays, 9 yards, 3 play, 2 yards, 5 plays, 17 yards. You have your one drive, 6 plays, 62 yards for a touchdown. Next up, 6 play, 9 yards, 3 play, 7 yards, 5 plays, 13 yards, 3 play, 10 yards. And again, then 7 plays, 20 yards. And not, punt.
Talk to you tomorrow, everybody.
Yeah, right? I mean, just punt, field goal, punt, downs, punt, interception, punt, interception. That's the drive chart. I was going through that, and I was doing the 2.9 yards per play. 2.9 yards per play. I mean, I was like Euchre.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, and I'm
I'll
just
never
going
trust a
through
smiling Kendall Briles ever again. I don't know how much longer I'll have to. We'll see.
I didn't get it either. I mean, I did say to you, I was like, I don't know where that comes from unless they're going to run the wild cam all day long.
And he's going to throw the football himself, which,
Yeah. So, as we said,
he does have the option to do that.
Well, it's just like what we said when we talked about it in the first hour and actually looked at the game itself. It was just absolutely confounding, whatever the hell that game plan was. That reeked of complete disorganization. It didn't look like anything anybody with a clue would put together.
No, it looked like we had a phone call with Miami Saturday morning, said, you want to meet up and play ball at Doak? Just what it did. I mean,
it was bizarre. I kept thinking, what are we establishing? What are we trying to establish? Surely there's something I'm not seeing with this game plan. No, turns out there was nothing. There wasn't
anything to see.
There was nothing that was leading to this other thing. It didn't exist.
Right. Yeah,
no.
Maybe they're setting up for
yeah,
something.
that's what I was saying. I'm like, okay, this is they're going for the long game, Tom.
Now 12. Now in the first and second quarter, 12 did miss a lot of open looks, and our eyes are in the wrong place a lot. And at some point, that's if it's two different quarterbacks and their eyes aren't in the right place.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Anyway.
So, we vetted this, and I'm not sure we got to the bottom of anything other than we have moved on. And
there's nothing to get to the bottom of right now.
No, that's that. But we will turn it over to our friends from the Front Row Knowles, and they can do their best effort to put together what they saw. And the First Look show is coming up. After that, you'll get football.
Come on, people. Maintain. Don't find the bottom of the bottle.
No.
It'll be okay. We've got Boston College on Saturday at noon.
We got basketball Wednesday.
That's right. We'll be at the Hangar 38 on Wednesday night.
We got basketball on Wednesday, baby. All right. Now, I know they're organized. They're ready to roll.
Yes, but do they have the manpower?
I don't know. Let's find out Wednesday.
That's right.
Hangar 38.
We can talk. We can all talk it over. Maybe we'll go bowling together.
That's it. Yeah, F it. Let's go bowling. Good work out of you. Good work, Matthew. Be well, everybody. Have a great night. Front Row Knowles up next. Like I said, later on, a little Monday Night Football with the Cowboys and Giants.